All right, we're on the air. This is the Stunthangar Hangout, Friday night, January the 18th, 2019. I'm Rusty, and I'm your host from the Stunthangar Control Line forums, and I'll be hanging out with you until at least midnight, as usual. If the conversations get good, we'll go later than that. I think our record's about 1:30 or so, 1:40 maybe. Uh, hadn't pushed it past 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time yet. But anyway, we start every hangout Mondays and Fridays at 9:40 Eastern USA time. So welcome. We'll talk about whatever you want to, mostly whatever you like to do in your shop or at the field with your airplanes or boats or buggies or whatever, planes, trains, and automobiles, models of all kinds, or even full-size stuff. We'll talk about it all. Hey, David Phelps, how you doing tonight? Hope everything in Raleigh is good. It's probably a little chillier up there than it is here, but I think we finally got a weekend with decent weather on the East Coast. And here comes Bob. Hey, how you doing tonight, Bob Hunt?
Rusty, how are you?
I'm excellent. I'm just getting started here. So,
did you know that you mislabeled this on Stunthangar?
Oh no, what did I call it?
Monday.
Wrong night. Did I say Monday?
I think so.
I'll go back and change it in a minute once we get going. Yeah. I hope that doesn't confuse anybody too badly. Obviously, I was a little confused. But anyway, yeah, we're here to hang out for a couple of hours, and hopefully we'll get some people with some good show and tell, fun stuff to talk about. What you been doing? You've been busy building wings, I hear lately.
Yeah,
pretty busy with all your business. Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Word gets around. Yeah, matter of fact, I was just spurring holes in a bunch of foam wings. I had 142 holes or something to spur. That's a lot of holes.
Oh, good gosh.
So I can pull the wire through and core out the inside of the wings. So you got to drill 3 per panel.
So people just get, they send you an order for a wing for whatever airplane they want a wing for, or you've got a catalog they can pick from? How does it work?
Probably 400 or 500 sets of templates, so generally I have almost any wing anybody would want. But if they want something special, all they have to do is send me a root and a tip drawing of the airfoil and a plan form of the layout where the landing gear are, the spars and so forth, and I can cut them a custom core or make a lost foam cradle set for, so they can build a wing.
Yeah. I've got a couple of foam wings. I've never actually built with a styrofoam wing before, but I have a couple of the cores that they come in, or I guess that's what you call the part that is left over, the core, when you take the wings out of them. I've got a couple of them that might make for a good stunt ship, and I was thinking about using one to try to build a plane sometime.
Yeah.
Okay, I have now got the label fixed on the Stunthangar.
Yeah, the pieces that are left over top and bottom outside the core are called cradles or shucks.
Okay, cradles, yeah, or shucks. Okay, that makes sense.
And they're just as accurate, a negative representation of the wing shape as the core is a positive. That's what makes the lost foam
exactly
system so accurate. Yeah. So.
And if you want to reuse them, I've read some of what you've written. You recommend people paint them with thinned aliphatic glue to preserve them.
The actual rib templates, yeah, and then you could also coat the cradles with polyacrylic water-based.
Oh yeah, yeah, but that's good stuff.
If you're careful with the glue, you won't get it onto the cradle. And yeah, but you should definitely coat the individual rib pieces from which you'll lay out and make your ribs with Type Bond and rub it in really well. And that enables you to use them 15, 20 times if you want to.
Right. Yeah.
So make a lot of wings. I know Alan Goff has built about 30 SV-22 wings on the original cradle he bought from me. He built them for a whole bunch. He let his buddies come over and build them. And I said, how can I make any money off you? You're making like 30 wings off this one set. So he finally ordered another set.
Well, making good stuff is one way to stay in business, not just get fast business. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fun,
I'm a firm believer in whoever makes the best stuff, no matter who they are or where they're from, has every right to sell it in, whatever way they want to.
By and large, most of the people who are producing cottage industry products for this marketplace, they're all avid enthusiasts, so they're producing really good stuff too. So
yeah, it's a labor of love.
Producing good material.
Yeah.
I've been building some wings for myself too lately. I'm actually I'm building a new Genesis actually, and it's a completely new electric version designed to be powered by electric, where in the past we've been taking electric motors and putting them into glow designs. And there's reasons to modify things. I won't get into the particulars, but it is going to be, I think it's the sleekest thing I've ever designed, and it's probably the most radical thing I've ever designed.
We made a great point one night in a discussion here where the planes that are built from the beginning for electric do a lot better as far as trim and flyability goes than the ones that have been converted that were originally for glow power. And
yeah, absolutely. Whereas you're putting, in a glow airplane, the heaviest component is the engine, and it's at a certain point on the airplane. And then if you take that out, put it in an electric motor, it's like half the weight of the glow engine. So
yeah,
you have to add a lot of static weight to get the balance. And we did cover that one night. So
yeah. Hey, we got new visitor. We got Frank Donnelly in here video with us. Hey, Frank, how are you tonight?
All right. How you doing, Rusty? Bob,
We're
how
good.
you doing?
We're good. We're just getting going here. We might hit our groove early tonight. But, and we got Jack Snavely and David Phelps on the YouTube side. Jack says hi to everybody. Happy Friday. One of my favorite things to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So what you been doing for fun, Frank?
Not much. A lot of work. And I watched one of your videos the other day on making those bladders up.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty informative.
It is. I wish I had had more experience with them when I made those videos, because I made it look a little bit, even a lot more complicated than it has to be. And as I went along, and found easier ways to do things, I guess I could revise it and redo it, but
right.
I'm not. I haven't found the initiative to go out and remake any videos that I've already done. I think those have my highest views of any other video out there.
Well, if you were going to say power a half-A type of stunt plane, one that you built up fuselage and so forth, would you still use a bladder, or would you run like a uniflow tank or something?
Funny you should ask, because I have a new plane on the way. It is a laser cut knockoff of a Cox Hyper Viper, and it's going to have a Norvell 061, and it's 27-inch wingspan, and it's built for a hard tank. But yeah, I'm going to probably put a bladder in it, because it's so much easier for me now that I'm familiar with cranking and running with bladders, and how much fuel load I want for how much time. And that it's an aerobatic plane is another reason. I don't want to mess with a hard tank and all the adjustments and trimming and headaches that go with that, worrying about leaks. And so I just pump a bladder with however much I want out of the syringe, flip it and go. And
so that's your primary reason. So it's just less problems trying to get it set up.
It is. Yeah, it is. Once you go bladder, you'll never go back with half-A anyway. Now, you couldn't run an engine with a 4.2 brake like you can with
no, I understand that.
Or a flunk tank on a stunt plane with the big engines. But we run half-A engines almost wide open, if not absolutely peaking, for full flights. And so that's a different animal too.
So aren't you worried about blowing up that bladder inside the tank compartment of
No, it's all painted. It's all painted with epoxy finishing resin.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just make a special compartment for it that holds any fuel that could come out of it. And honestly, except in crashes, I've never busted a bladder in mid-flight or anything like that, or filling one. They're not that fragile. Let's see, we got somebody coming in. They're not as fragile as a lot of people believe they are, and the ones and a half, they don't hold all that much fuel. 3/4 of an ounce or an ounce, and it's not that high a pressure like it is in the ones they put on the fast combat ship.
Right. Yeah, I just heard you mention that you might get by for a weekend with one, but if you go longer than that, you may end up blowing it up.
That's what I said in the video, and I've later learned that the risk of blowing it up is not so much as it loses its tension after a while, but that's just a needle valve adjustment until you get so flabby it's not useful anymore. Now, Mike's on here, and he's a bladder guy that flies half A's and fast combat, and probably looks at it a little different. I'm talking about for sport flying, where you don't have to be as precise, but
Right. That's what I've been looking for.
bladders whenever he hits the field. Would that be correct to assume, Mike?
What's that? What was the
That
question?
you don't reuse bladders from one outing to the next if you're competing or practicing, do you?
I put a fresh bladder every time I fly a match.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed.
I'll use them over in the same day, but from one week to the next. I mean, you can get by with it sometimes, but
yeah,
in a match, you don't want to be breaking a bladder in the middle of a match.
When I'm just knocking around, though, I'll use one. Heck, I've used one over a period of a month or more on my little Satan and things like that when I'm just going out to play.
Yeah, for sport flying, run them till they break or they don't have any elasticity anymore.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we got some new people here now. We got, of course, Mike, and we've got Stephen McBride, and Sparky's in here with us too.
And hopefully, Rusty, I'll stay on tonight. I've had the cable company here 4 times in the last 7 days. I've had 3 new modems and 3 new routers. So I think they finally got me straightened out. So hopefully,
what do they think the problem actually was?
They're saying they had a bad batch of modems and routers come in from China. I'm not the only one. There's a whole bunch of people that have been having problems.
Yeah.
And the guy was here this morning. I was just getting kicked off the internet constantly on all my devices. And finally, today, I've been running for like 7 hours now, and everything stayed up. So hopefully I'll be able to stay on. I'll tell you what, you don't realize how much you use the internet till you don't have it for 2 weeks.
No kidding. No kidding.
Well, your connection's a lot better tonight than it has been.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're good to go. So we'll see. If it starts giving me fits, I'll just I'll log out and just watch on YouTube. But as long as the video feed's working, I'll hang in there. So, how you doing, Bob? How you doing, Steve?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Rusty,
we got a new visitor on the tube too, named Gary Sinclair from Ohio. Welcome, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Let's get
How you doing, Gary?
Let's get the physical therapy update from Rusty. How you getting around now, Rusty?
Excellent. Yeah, Rusty's doing good. I'm sometimes forget to pick my cane up and walk around in the house and have to go back and hunt for it. And I still walk with a little bit of limp, but it's gradually going away. And if I was looking for it to go away any faster, I would be being impatient. So 6 months maybe to get rid of the limp, but still with the right exercises, I should be getting my balance back pretty well. And man, I'm standing up way straighter. I reach up now. I'm so used for the past year to reaching up to snatch the cord on a light on a ceiling fan, and when I reach up now, I'm putting it a whole hand too high for the pull. So I gained couple of inches. I hadn't measured my height, but it's enough to be noticeable.
Oh, I got my new tissue.
What'd you say? Oh,
You're on TV.
This is Japanese tissue from England. It's cost 55 pounds. You know, the reason why I bought it is the length of it. It's 36 inches long, which they don't make Japanese tissue normally that long. Comes from a pre-flight company in England.
You ever tried using that already, Sparky?
Not yet.
is now Japanese tissue? Is it lighter weight than silk span
Oh yeah,
or Dr. paper?
yeah, definitely.
Why would you pick Jap tissue? Strictly for weight savings, or is there any other advantage?
Let's go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an advantage. We've talked a lot of times on here how much dope and paint weight. I never realized it back in my early days of building how much I was laying on. It's a huge amount.
How is it in comparison to that doctor paper?
Yeah. 4 times lighter. This is so light.
How much does it cost that per sheet or per roll or whatever they sell it by?
I got 10 sheets for 55 pounds, so it's about $6 a sheet.
Wow.
That included the shipping from England.
60 bucks. Son of a girlie.
How long did it take you to get it shipped from England?
About a month.
Oh,
Jeez.
There's only one hobby: spending money.
I was asked why would I spend that much for it. Well, this is what I want. I want Billy light. And,
yeah, I know you've been upset about how heavy your planes are coming out, no matter how hard you try to make them light.
I swear I don't know how Billy did what he did. That's 10 ounces different. I mean, 10 ounces is a mile.
Yeah, it's an engine almost.
I used a Bob Hunt quote the other night when somebody was talking about building airplanes with me about is it possible to build a plane too light? Of course, but it's never been done. So, I passed your saying along, Bob.
Yeah, not everybody agrees with that, but I think sure Sparky does.
You guys are
Intuitive.
all,
I can imagine reasons why it might be possible to be too light, but I think it's just a matter of trial and error and whatever works for each person too. So
There's other. It's kind of like one of those Murphy's corollaries. Yeah, another one is there's only one correct amount of horsepower. Way too much.
as opposed to just enough.
Only one correct amount. Way too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's nice to have confidence when it's time for that first wing over to know it's going up and over with no trouble.
Yeah, or
well, you guys have used that doctor paper already, right?
Yep.
Anything I should know about it? It's the first time I'm going to try using it.
It has a shiny side too. Shiny side up.
So it's the way it comes off the roll, the way, just like the poly span is, the way you get it off the roll so the shiny side's up.
No, you got to look at it. I don't know how they roll it. Shiny side up. You got to hold it up to light and look. One side is slightly shinier than the other.
yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have fuzzy issues and stuff like that with to deal with it, do I?
No, there's no fuzzy.
It's not like poly span works.
What about the grain? Do you have to orient the grain?
Grain runs lengthways. You run the right way.
Okay.
It's like real silk span. I have a sample of it here that Lou Wolgass sent me. And the stuff is like real silk span, the old time silk span. It'll tear span wise, but it won't tear cord wise. So it's like real silk span.
Right. Yeah, I found that out when I was experimenting with it.
Sparky, how much, you did a lot of covering with that poly span. How did you like that?
I like it a lot. It's just heavy. It takes a lot of dough.
That's why I don't like it.
How much heavier for a wing finished ready for primer would you say it is over silk span?
Just the wing?
Yeah, just the wing.
Probably giving up 1.5 ounces.
Wow, that's a lot.
Polyspan, I found it takes more dope to fill it in.
Oh.
It creates more weight.
It takes your 3 coats on the wood, then you're going to have 5 coats of clear before it even starts to shine.
Hmm.
So there's, 3 ounces right there.
Is polyspan a woven fabric, or is it?
It's plastic. Polyspan is plastic. It's like a nylon. That's why it shrinks when it.
Okay.
It's a polyester.
Okay.
It's actually, what I understand is it's dress liner material, and I'm actually trying to find a supplier, through fabric stores where we can get it a lot less expensive.
Mm-hmm. But it's not a woven strand. It's a homogeneous layer of nylon or fabric.
That's polyester. The polyester. Yeah.
Well, the nice part about it is when you heat that up and how it pulls it tight.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks nice that way, the way that works. But it took a lot of dope in it.
Mm-hmm.
It absorbed a lot of dope.
Yeah.
I used it one time on that Frisky Pete I built many years ago, and I liked it. It was fun, but I didn't have to go around a compound curve. I had solid wood tips, and I was able to just feather it off at the tip. And
It won't go around curves. It won't bend around curves.
Yes, it will. I can go around any piece of wood you want. You just have to be willing to endure pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were building the Continental, I believe we saw you put it around compound curved wingtips, I think, didn't we?
It goes around just like Monaco.
Hmm.
And when I say you got to be willing to endure pain, it's a heat gun, and you can't hold on to the glove. So
I usually do everything with Monocoat. I do everything with an iron. I rarely use the heat gun unless I've just got a overall shrinkage from being out in the sun or something like that to do.
Now, I got to go around the curves a bit, but it was a bear. It wasn't easy. I didn't find it easy. I got to go around the curves on certain areas of the wingtips, but didn't like it. It was too hard to work around with.
nothing in life is easy.
I didn't say it was.
So Steve, you've got a almost completed model, don't you?
Yes. That's why I'm asking questions about the doctor paper, because I'm at the point right now where I'm going to start covering it and putting the doctor paper on it. I got the nitrate already on, sanded it, I put the coats on and sanded it, and I'm now ready to start putting the doctor paper on it. But I'm just curious to know, since it's the first time I'm using it, what do I look out for, any type of hints and tips I can use before I get started with it? I'm really doing well with weight on this airplane. I want to keep it that way, and I don't want to screw up by not knowing something.
Well, it's doctor paper, so if your wing, after you cover it, if it tells you to turn your head and cough, you got a problem.
From everything I've heard and read, it's just about the same as working with silk span.
Yeah, it's like they say, it's like medium grade silk span. It's not like the 00.
I found I like that nitrate though.
You found what?
Using nitrate though, I found I really like that.
Oh yeah, nitrate's great.
That stuff is great compared to using the Butyrate Clear and putting that on the wood and soaking it in there.
Mm-hmm.
I saved so much weight already on doing that. And the way that applied was so much nicer. Standing there, it was a big difference. I was really happy with the results of that. Nitrate was a big difference.
Yeah, I stopped using butyrate dope years and years ago.
Well, I've always used it that way, and then I just realized on my last airplane, everybody started hearing about it, everybody saying you should use nitrate. So now I'm using nitrate and putting that on the wood, and I put the coats on and sanded it, and we're working on that at the shop. And the results of that is totally different. So
it lays down so nice, and when it dries, it's just so even.
So even it hardens up nice, sands, and then you put the next coat on, and it doesn't soak into the other coat.
And it doesn't have a lifetime of shrinkage like butyrate does either, does it?
Well, it depends on what you get. If you get the non-twattening nitrate, no, it doesn't shrink up as bad. But you can get nitrate that shrinks just as bad as butyrate if you're not careful.
You don't want it to shrink up too much, right?
What's that?
You don't want it to shrink up too much on you.
No. Well, I mean, you got to pull the covering tight, and you got to have some
covering tight. Yeah, but I want the one that has less shrinkage to it, and it applies nice. I'm just really concerned right now about. I always have a problem with paint. Paint bites me in the ass, and now I'm getting to that point where I got to put the tissue down, and start covering it, and I'm concerned about keeping that weight down because I've worked really hard at keeping the weight down on this plane. It's really coming out to key.
Well, paint is the heaviest thing that's going to go on that airplane.
Like I said, that's what it always bit me in the ass and got me in the wrong direction when I painted the plane. Oh, they came out nice, but this one's really, the plane's coming out so light. Even I put the nitrate on it now, and I'm not even gaining any weight with doing that. Now I got to put the doctor paper on it and cover the plane, and start working with the colors. So I just want to know, what do I look for before I start applying it on? You said there's a shiny side to it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit.
Shiny side up?
Yep. That'll save you a little paint.
Okay. And apply the nitrate to it. How many coats do you usually apply to it?
Many as it takes. I can't tell you.
Your experience, what your experience? What do you use, Bob? You and Sparky, what do you use?
What's that?
How many coats do you usually put on?
Well, I've never used the doctor paper, so I can't tell you. On the 00, it depends. Of course, a coated dope. You say a coated dope, it doesn't mean anything unless we know exactly how much it's thinned.
How much it thins, right?
Yeah, you could be. Some people put it on thicker than other people like to apply it. So, it's got to be able to flow out of the brush. So you thin it down to a point where it can flow. And you're not putting on a whole lot of material. But if you put it on thicker, obviously you're putting on material. So it depends on the person doing it and how they have it thinned as to how many coats you're going to need.
It takes as many as it takes to get it to have a sheen to it. It has to have a shine to it.
Okay. I thinned it out right now, about 60%.
What are you doing, Sparky?
Sanding the sheeting.
Oh, okay.
I have the nitrate thinned out right now, a little over 60%.
Yeah, see, I go a lot thinner when I put on a dope to let it flow out a little bit.
I was going to go 70 and so forth. I usually, when I do the colors.
And that's also not real accurate because some dopes come through thicker than other dopes do. In other words, some dopes will come out of the can much thicker, almost like molasses, and other dopes will come out quite a bit thinner. So you can't do across the board, hey, you thin it 70%. You thin it till it flows out of the brush properly.
Got to let Steve back in. You must have gotten kicked out, Steve.
Okay, we back in?
Yep, you're back in.
I used to do 50-50, and I was always doing 50-50. Now people were telling me to go about 60 to 70%. So I went a little bit more than 60% and thinned it out that way. Usually when I do my colors, I'm about 70%.
Well, again, it depends on the viscosity of the material out of the can.
Right.
You're gonna have to thin it a different. I just add thinner until it flows the way I want it to flow. Or sprays the way I want it to spray. I don't go by a certain percentage.
Okay, I've given my finishing technique 100 times. Two mason jars, 2 quart mason jars. Fill one all the way full of clear dope. Then take that one and fill the other one halfway full, and thin them both. You got one for base, one for substrate, and one for top coat. That's all the dope you get. If you use any more than that, you're just adding weight. And then 1/2 pint of color, and that's it. You can use all the thinner you want.
Years ago, we used to take a quart of dope and thin it and shoot it on as our top coat. And after it was dried and buffed and sanded, we weighed the airplane. We put on exactly 1 ounce with a quart of dope. 1 ounce.
That was aerogloss.
Well, yeah, you're right. That was aerogloss.
Our old friend Frank Washburn's on YouTube. He says, "Hey, hey guys," and he said, "Happy birthday, Rusty." But got to wait till March for my birthday.
Yeah.
Okay.
March 25th. Y'all be sure and write that down now.
So when you guys cover with silk span, after you get your base coat of clear on there, don't you shoot it with some silver to give it UV protection?
No, I'm not with you.
Yeah.
Not no more.
Silver is kind of a passe thing. That's big years ago, but it's not necessary.
Not no more.
Why not? Why isn't it necessary any longer?
Heavy and the paint don't stick.
It doesn't stick. Yeah, when you peel up the tape, sometimes you pull it right up down to the silver. It just doesn't stick well.
And I thought the purpose of it is to protect the tissue from degrading after 10 years or so from the sun.
It magnifies all the imperfections, and it creates your top coats that you put over that as well. Your imperfections show up more too.
How many airplanes have you had that you've flown for 10 years?
Well, I have a lot of planes that I've flown for that long.
You have them out every week in the sun, though?
No, I don't. No.
I don't think that's an issue. No. I have one downstairs. The Genesis is almost 20 years old now, and it's been out in the sun a lot, and it's fine. It didn't have any silver on it.
Okay.
I did use a blocking coat. Instead of silver, I use a blocking coat, which is a part polar gray and part white dope. And then I shoot that on, and that blocks everything out.
Gotcha.
Build your airplane to last 1 season. If it lasts longer than that, it's a bonus.
Billy's got some that are still around from the 50s.
It's easy for you to say that, Sparky. You build what, about 2 a month or something?
Yeah, really.
I used to, not anymore.
So in Sparky's case, if you build one that lasts more than a couple of months, it's beautiful.
He was above that pace back in the summer building those voodoos, but that's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
I got a whole pile of them over there if somebody wants them.
I'd like to have one to play with, but I've already got enough stuff that needs attention, so I'll pass on it. I got the Super Satan that Tom Luciano gave me, and that he and Al Ferraro built the engine for, and I'm looking forward to getting my body back in tune to where I can fly that. And I got to do it just to prove to Mike Leinke that I can do it.
Yeah. I remember flying some of Larry's Super Satans years ago at 120 plus. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is awesome.
It flies real nice, Rusty. You're going to like it.
Yeah.
It's hard to build a plane without putting your love into it and then wanting to keep it. To just say it's going to last you a season. Yeah, if you fly it, like, you don't have a dime in it, but you still have to fly it and enjoy it. I like to keep it a little longer than a season.
So Rusty, are you going to use the big MiG in this little pattern plane you're making?
Yes, I am. A Hyper Viper. Yeah, it's going to have a big MiG. It's made specifically for either a big MiG TD 061 or a TD 049, 051.
Okay. And do you use the standard plugs that you get for Norvell, or do you use the the special head where you can put a standard plug in there?
I use the ones that come on the big MiGs are fine, and you can get replacement plugs and the heads from Merlin, or you could. I don't know what's going on with Merlin right now, but that's my favorite head and plug combination for both the Norvells and the Coxes. If I build a Cox engine, and it's going to have one of those Merlin heads on it.
I think I got a bunch of those around still.
With the little insert plug where the head's
right.
I like that method of installing the plug. Except you can't take it off and put it back on in a hurry, but I don't find the need to do that with these little engines like you might out at a contest, to dry an engine out or something. So that's not an issue.
Right.
If my engine gets wet, I put spring starters on my Norvell Coxes, and if the engine gets wet, just flip until the flood goes away, and then crank it up. So it's not a time consuming problem.
Right.
The sounds of sanding.
I dream of sanding.
Yeah, it's like a Zen thing for some people. I believe Shug always told you to sand more on your videos because he loved sitting back and watching you sand and daydreaming, I presume.
I learned how to sand from Red Reinhardt, one of the best model builders I've ever seen in my life. Light, straight, accurate, and he could sand things that were so perfect it was unbelievable. I learned from him. It's easy. Reinhardt was something. He was some builder.
Yeah, I enjoy sanding to a point. I like to feel like I got a pretty good touch for it, but breathing sand dust is no fun. Sawdust is no fun. It always makes me feel like I've caught a bad cold the next day, and until I realized what it was, I thought I was catching a cold on a couple of occasions.
You can always tell a model builder he has one long fingernail for picking.
If I had a long fingernail, I'd be dragging it through the balsa and having to fill in boo-boos. I've seen some guys that had on YouTube that are showing something to the camera, and they've got long dirty fingernails too. And good God, I don't know how they can stand to not cut their nails occasionally. See, we got 16 people watching us right now. So what y'all gonna do this weekend? Anybody going flying?
Yeah, I snowed in.
We're gonna
we got an ice storm coming to Nashville tomorrow.
Oh crap!
We got 4
Snow and ice. Nashville is closed for the next 3 days, starting tomorrow.
No. As far as I know, we don't have anything like that coming to Columbia. It might be a couple of days behind if it goes to Nashville first.
We're gonna do a lot of building, that's all.
We could have 10 inches by Monday.
Wow.
They're calling for.
If it is light and it doesn't rain, then they'll get out there and be able to fly.
You were talking about weird weather in Las Vegas lately the other night, weren't you, Steve?
Yeah. It's rained it rained 4 days this week already. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday. Today was the only day it stopped raining. But we had 4 days straight that it actually rained. It never rains 4 days straight out here.
Yeah, I thought that was almost unheard of.
It rained, the 4 days of rain we got, that's more rain than we got in the past 2 years.
Is that where you are, Las Vegas?
Yeah.
My dad's in Overton.
On the East Coast here, I think we got 4 days of sunshine this year. You know,
That's what it seems like. Where are you, Bob? Are you in New Jersey or Pennsylvania?
I used to be New Jersey. Now I'm Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Okay.
I got rid of the accent.
Yeah, good luck trying to do that. You can't get rid of the accent.
Pennsylvania, he's like a block away from New Jersey.
What's that?
You're a block away from New Jersey.
Well, I'm not a block away. I'm about 3 miles from Jersey. Yeah. Delaware is that way about 3 miles. You know. We're pretty close. You know, I can get to Jersey quick if I have to. I went to fly with the guys down in Solberg Airport in New Jersey. Imbriaco and Luciano. They invited me down to fly, and they said I could fly there, but I have to change my name so it ends in a vowel. So I've decided instead of ending with an O like theirs, Mario Andretti lives about a mile from me here, and I'm gonna go with Roberto Huntetti. So it ends in a vowel. That's all it counts. You know?
Roberto Huntetti. All right. Roberto. I got a friend. I just met him recently at dialysis, and he told me his name was Anthony. Anthony. What kind of name is that? Anthony turned out to be his name, but he's from New Jersey, actually. He said he grew up with his grandmother, and that's what she called him. So that's how he learned to say his own name, Anthony. That's how
when you live in New Jersey, people say, "Where are you from?" You say, "I'm from New Jersey." They say, "Oh yeah, what exit?"
I don't get that one.
You have to live in Jersey to get that.
An inside joke.
Everybody lives off the Parkway someplace, you know.
Yeah, what exit?
What exit?
What exit are you?
Does I-95 run through New Jersey?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, runs up the, just east of Newark, all the way up to the bridge.
Oh, speaking of bridge, you heard they blew up the bridge.
What bridge?
Yeah, Triborough.
Oh, well, yeah, I've been over the new bridge. Yeah.
The new one up.
Mario Cuomo TZ Bridge. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful bridge. The cost of that thing must have been billions and billions of dollars. It was huge. It's amazing.
Frank Washburn asked a question. Let's see. He says he wants to know if you can monocoat over a doped wood surface.
Not very good. I mean, it will. I'd probably put some sticks it down.
Not really.
No, it has no way for the air to escape.
Over a wood surface, some people use a woodpecker roller to ventilate the air underneath it.
Yeah, and then you're putting stress marks in the wood. You know, you're too close together. You're just making a dotted line on which to break.
I don't find much reason to monocoat over solid sheeted surfaces, except maybe a rudder here or a stab there. I mostly paint everything except for the wings.
I used to use baggy coat years ago on my radio control airplanes, but I don't use it on control liners. That's what Billy Simons used to call it, baggy coat.
Baggy coat, yeah.
Sorry,
Shrink wrap.
the ground.
Yeah, pick it up like a shake and bake.
Yeah, shake and bake. and I helped. Or so the old commercial went. Let's see. Oh, McBride 001. Is that you, Steve? Who is McBride 001? Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's it.
Ruben.
Saying.
Hey, Ruben.
The guys at Radical RC sell a crash retrieval bag for $1. Just a trash bag.
What, he write something in? Yeah, I gotta get into the other page to see that.
Yeah, he said, Steve, it was the Tappan Z Bridge, the Tappan Z Bridge. How do you say it? That they blew up.
The Tappan.
Cost $10 to get over that bridge in '85 with a truck.
What, the Tappan Z?
Cost $10 to get an 18-wheeler over that bridge.
18-wheeler.
Back in '85.
Yeah.
Sparky, I'm going to do a test and mute your mic for a second and see if that's where the background chatter is coming from.
Okay.
So go ahead and make noise, but I'm going to mute you. All right, let's see if that did it. I got to figure out which stunt hanger you are. Yeah. Yeah, it must have been. Oh, wait a minute. Which one is?
How can you see the comments that are being made on the YouTube version of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Processing that.
What'd you say, Bob?
How do you go about seeing what comments are being made on the YouTube version of it?
Oh, I go over to the YouTube watch page where this is being shown on Sparky's YouTube channel's homepage.
Yeah.
And there's a chat box there, and there's 3 little dots at the top right of the chat box, and you click that and you can select pop out chat, and then you can resize the little chat box and drag it over and park it next to your video window, so you can see us and you can see the YouTube feed too. There's a quick way there. If I'm not sure if y'all can see it, you guys on your video screen, do you have something at the bottom that says how many viewers, and in the bottom right it says links? If you click links, do y'all see that?
No.
Bottom right. You do. If you click links, there's a link to the watch page, and you can cut and paste that into your browser and get there too.
Huh. Oh, see that. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to change my mic here.
Yeah, the chatter went away when he. Well, no, when everybody makes noise, it feeds back through one of them. Are you getting there, Bob?
No, I'm just experimenting here.
Okay.
How about now?
Say testing 1, 2, 3 or something.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
It doesn't seem like it's as bad. We'll listen to it for a minute. I still hear a little bit of background, but not. I don't think it's as bad as it was, and I need to let Bob back in. He signed out by accident.
It's actually you that's feeding back.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute my mic and y'all talk for a minute, and I'll come back on. I'm muting.
Okay. See, it's Rusty that's muting, or that's chattering. Somebody say something.
Yeah, apparently so. Well, let me turn my volume down a little bit, so it's might just be the speakers. Okay, go down, down, down. Okay. Did it get any better when I did that?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yes. Okay. I can't lower it anymore, else I won't be able to hear you guys.
That could be a plus.
I don't know. It comes and goes some nights, and some nights it's worse than others. So I'm just running a ongoing experiment to see exactly why.
Did you find the link, Bob?
Did you find the link to the watch page, Bob?
What's that? No, it didn't. And it's not.
I'm going to give you a link right to the chat box.
It's all right. It's fine. I'm good. I'm just gonna. I don't want to get kicked off here again. So.
Oh yeah, I guess I could have copied and pasted that link in there. Oh, Minnesota Mike's in here with us. He says, "Howdy from 8 below 0, North Dakota." Mercy.
Oh boy. He gets the prize.
We also have a new visitor called JP. He comments, one of those guys looks like the '78 world champ.
Yeah, that's the guy building the wing there.
Yeah.
Here's the link to the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Click on that.
And paste it.
Oh, it went off again. Can you put that back up again?
Yeah.
I'll click on it when I come there. It is.
Meanwhile, I'm letting Steve McBride back in.
Okay, so now I got the chat, but I can't see the screen. So
You gotta make the chat small. Minimize it.
Minimize it,
oh, okay.
or partially.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, you can. I squeeze mine into a narrow, tall column and just.
still not getting back on the main screen here, but that's all right.
Well, X out of the chat box.
Or hover over your browser icons. See,
Out of that.
does a Apple computer have a taskbar like Windows where you hover over the taskbar to make hidden windows available?
Yeah, there went Bob.
I have the same problem that he does. I can't find the window now.
Steve, you keep falling out of the conversation.
Okay. I'm messing around here.
Hopefully Bob will come back.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, there he is.
Great
Leather.
time. Okay. One night when it's really slow, if we get bored, we'll tinker around with it and figure out what you need to do. But it isn't
told me how to do it one time. I was just trying to do now so I can tell Bob. It's something where you got to go to YouTube and then mute it out and somehow clean it out. I was trying to do that, but that didn't work. I'll
Steven,
try it again another day.
Steven, do you know where Overton, Nevada is?
No.
You ever heard of the Red Rooster?
Yes.
That's where the Red Rooster is. My dad lives a block from the Red Rooster.
Okay.
Hey,
Right up north.
do you fly with Joey Matheson?
Yes, I do. I fly with Joey Matheson. He was one of the first guys I met out here.
You still got my Thunderbolt?
He still has your Thunderbolt. Yeah,
Steve Muncie's in here. He says it's 71 degrees in Houston, Texas. LOL. Yeah, big funny.
Yeah, well, I fly with Joey Matheson. He's a member of our club out here, and big speed competitor.
Huh.
Yeah, he's a big guy too. He's a big guy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see him dance around that pole at 200 miles an hour.
You're like kidding. Trying to fly, we do marathon events and other things. We try to do like Foxford racing and stuff. Try to do racing events with him and run around him. He don't move. You got to run around him to race. Pretty big guy to get around, and a lot of fun. I mean,
Sounds like he can push you around pretty good in combat circle too.
He's a guy who's all about the sport because he loves to have fun with me. He's like a little kid himself and just enjoys having fun.
Yeah, we got a guy in our club that gets a kick out of being a big bear, and Howard Howard Shenton. He'll remind you how big and strong he is at every chance he gets.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful if he reaches out to shake your hand, because it's like shaking an oak tree's hand.
Hmm. Hey, Rusty, who's that guy near you guys down there who has that model museum and is?
Oh, that's James Duckworth. We call him Duck.
Yeah, I went there one time with Buck Moore and Kenny Armish, and Alan Buck. That was an incredible place.
It sure is. And you know, it looks like with all the stuff he's got in there, it looks like he must spend all day every day cleaning, oiling, and polishing, because everything's always clean. I guess when we have meetings there, he might go to a little extra effort, but it's still incredible.
We went over there after one day at the Joe Knoll, and it was quite a hike over to his place. And we were all tired, and we really couldn't appreciate it because we had to get back to Watt's house, which was another long haul, and we were staying at Watt's house. So I would love to go back there sometime and spend a day, just looking through what he's got.
Yeah. Well, we always have our July meeting at Duck's house. So if you want to put some road trip on your calendar that goes through Stanley, North Carolina, that'd be a good time to do it.
I'll make sure if you do me a favor next time you see him, tell him I really appreciated being there and the invite. I wish I was a little bit more attentive because we were so tired we could hardly keep our eyes open.
Oh yeah.
You going to Joe Knoll again, Bob?
No, probably not. I got this dog here and I can't leave because my wife works and I got to watch the dog. I won't put her in a kennel. So.
Spunky, how long ago was that you told that Thunderbolt to Joey?
2005.
Something like, okay, yeah. Well, unfortunately, he didn't have it too long after that. He crashed it, and then he didn't fly for quite a couple of years. But when he met up with us, he asked us to help him out with putting it back together. And my father actually spent the time and rebuilt that whole airplane. You can't even tell anything happened to it.
That's good.
But
That was number one. The story is Bob Hunt and Billy Warwick were at the 2004 Worlds, and I took out my tape measure and took a bunch of pictures, and they asked me, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to build some of these," and they didn't think I was going to do it. Did you, Bob?
I recall seeing you there doing that, but I don't recall that particular part of it. But
I built 3 of them. 3 of them at that time.
Yeah, you built them that week, didn't you?
Yeah.
All 3 of them.
JP wants to know if Bob's dog is a bronze dog. Yeah, JP, I can answer that for Bob. It is a bronze dog, sort of like bronze.
Another golden retriever.
Yeah, a bronze retriever. A new variety. Especially hybridized for Bob.
Pistol boy. She's running me ragged.
How old is she?
She's 2. And she's running me ragged.
A young dog. I didn't realize that.
She's just running me ragged. She likes to run and jump and play. And
does she live inside all the time?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. She allows us to live in here with her, too.
Oh, well, that's nice of her.
She's out with my wife right now. I'd let her in here and let you guys see her, but I'm writing this book about the Genesis, the whole story of the Genesis, which starts actually pre-Genesis days in about 1968 or 69 and goes all the way up to the present. So it's already 80,000 words long. But right now what I'm doing is I've got all these pictures. I think I showed you some last week. I got a lot of pictures here that I'm scanning in, and I got them in stacks, and I don't want her to get in here and start putting her claws in the pictures, so she's not allowed in the office now.
Isn't the Crossfire just an updated Genesis?
Yeah, it's an 80 Genesis with a rudder and, a little different paint. Well, not really even a different paint scheme, just a different rudder. Yeah, it's exactly a 1980 Genesis. What it is.
Mm-hmm. Did they have swept forward trailing edge in 80?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. After flying Billy's USA 1, the one he had with the swept forward trailing edge, when I was heavy into motorcycling, I was out there for a couple of years, and I didn't have an airplane to fly, and I was invited to be the assistant team manager in '81, or assistant team selection manager, director of the team selections, and Billy lent me his USA 1 with the swept forward trailing edge, and I was so blown away by that airplane. But even before that, I built one after having watched him fly his Juno and the '79 Nationals in all that heavy wind and how easily that airplane turned in the wind. I went home and designed a sub-forward trailing edge version of the Genesis, and that's what I used in '80 at the Worlds and the Nationals.
What's the story on Usama?
What's that?
What was the story on Usama?
In what respect?
Wasn't that in about the same time?
The Usama was 1971. Gene flew that. He built it in, or actually 70. He built it. He designed it in 1969 and built it over the winter of '69 and '70. And then I think he used it in '71 at the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been at '70 Nationals. That was a great airplane. That was a really great airplane. The one I had may have been the best thing I've ever owned.
I just clicked up to see what Mike was working on. It's his Pulse jet.
Like a
Duff. Fly that this weekend? Oh, that's right. You got ice coming.
That USA on the wing really works well.
I don't even know what an Usama looks like.
Well, it was the first stunt machine. Gene didn't name his airplanes in those days. The stunt machine, when it was finally published, the reason it was called Stunt Machine is Don McGovern, who was the editor of Flying Models at the time. When he bought the airplane, he said, well, we need a name. And Gene said, well, it doesn't have a name. So McGovern said, well, let's call it Stunt Machine. And Gene said, fine. But before that, he had a twin rudder airplane, which we consider the Stunt Machine 1 and retroactively. But it didn't have a name on it, but it did have a big USA on the left wing and a big AMA on the right wing. And when he set it down at the field the first time, Bill Simon walked up and said, what the heck is an Usama? He said, what are you talking about? He says, the name on your airplane. He says, there's no name on my airplane. He says, yeah, there is. USA AMA, Usama. And that's how
hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you with when you have a swept forward or leading edge like that. It seems to me that the flap horn is going to bind somehow. You need to slot the.
You would think it would, but it doesn't.
Really?
If you do it properly, Billy convinced me, because my first one, that Genesis we were just talking about, that '80 Genesis, I had a split horn, kind of like what Gialdini used on the Stingray. And that gave me nothing but trouble. Getting everything aligned was really a bear. So when I told Billy, and he laughed, he said, why are you doing that? Just put a straight horn in it. It works fine. I said, how can that possibly work? He said, he took the Juno, which has like a 2.5 inches of sweep forward per trailing edge, per side. And he had a straight horn, and the thing flops. It just flops. And it's
just hard to believe that can work.
I know, but everyone I've built since then has had a solid straight horn in it, and it works great.
Yeah, but you got to add the caveat, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a point where the trailing edges come together like this. You don't have a point. You have to make a flat for the horn.
You got to make a flat. And it also helps. You got to make it flat that's also dead 90 degrees to the center line of the wing. It can't be offset at all. And the other part of it is you got to put the first hinge out about 5 inches from center. You have the horn pinned at the center, so you got to, it's staked there. The first hinge on either side of the fuselage needs to be out about 4 or 5 inches, because there is a slight amount of flap up and down against the trailing edge of the wing, but it's only a few thousandths of an inch. Okay. So if you put the first hinge out far enough, it doesn't bind at all.
And thus not the need for lucky boxes and all that nonsense.
No, I've never used a lucky box on anything I've ever built.
I built sort of a redneck version of a lucky box when I built the only plane I've got that's got a swept trailing edge with flaps. And the only reason I really did it's just because it was something I'd never done before, so I wanted to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
It works fine, and I'm sure it would work fine without it too.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of airplanes. Well, I've had a bunch of airplanes over the years that have had straight horns with front forward trailing edges, and no problems whatsoever.
And mine's a small plane too, so that probably makes even less of an issue.
Yeah. You would think, though, in looking at it, coming from an engineering background, my father was an engineer, you know, you would look at that and say, that can't possibly work. And that's what I thought when I built the first one. I said, well, I didn't know how he did it, so I just kind of made the split horns.
Yeah.
And the problem was I left too much wire in the two horns, and the flaps would work one against the other, and the wires would go in and out of those horns. And it would get a rolling component in the maneuvers, in the double maneuvers. It would actually do a roll, and it was driving me crazy. And finally, gentleman who lived in my building, he was like 85 or 90 years old, guy, Mr. Sullivan. He was an engineer. Matter of fact, he was instrumental in the actual development of the television. And he was one of the engineers that was on the project that actually came up with the television. And he looked at it and said, and he heard the clicking when he moved the two flaps. And he said, those, whatever linkage you have in there is moving one against the other. So we cut a little pumpkin cut, you know, where we could pull the piece out of the side. Sure enough, that's what was happening. So he grabbed one of the wires, ends of the wires with a needle nose plier, and I heated up the washer, and he pulled it out against the horn. And we did the other side the same way, took it out the next day, and it flew perfect. So,
yeah, well, I just came into, somebody actually gave it to me about a month ago, an Aries kit. So I've been looking it over, and when I laid those plans out and took a look at it, I was looking at that horn assembly, and I thought, well, I mean, this has been around a long time. It must work, but I don't know how it does.
It's magic.
You know, it might bind more if we had more than, what, 20 degrees worth of throw in either direction. So that it might not move. You know, it might bind more if we had 45 degrees of throw, like a elevator or
something. I don't know. I could go down and get the crossfire, bring it up here and show you. That's got a straight horn in it, and that's got plenty of, way more than 20 degrees of movement. And it's just floppy. You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't explain it either. I just do what the master says, you know.
Right.
I just got through writing that section of the Genesis book about the 1980 airplane and the 80 worlds, and I left out a story that Les McDonald has been wanting me to tell since for almost 40 years, but I wasn't allowed to write about it. The State Department actually got in the way of me writing about it years ago. That's when we got arrested in Poland, and the whole story of that whole trip was pretty much a fiasco. And finally, I decided to go ahead and write about it. So that's going to be in the book.
When are you going to finish this book, Bob?
Hopefully this coming week.
Really?
Yeah, I got all these photos scanned in now, and I'm putting the finishing touches on the text. And there's going to be about 300, maybe even 400 photos in it.
That's nice.
Mm.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think that's going to be on my reading list.
Well, I'm going to offer it, you know, I mean, I'm not going to offer it as a book. You know, it's not work. Publishing is, you know, a book is crazy now. What I'll offer it as is a file that you can pull up and read on the computer or on a Kindle or whatever.
Right.
And I'll either put it on CD or a memory stick, you know, and send it out. And I'll also offer it with a set of plans to 1, 2, or 3 of the Genesis models, and a discount coupon for a lost foam cradle set or a foam wing, whatever anybody wants, for like $30. You know. So
speaking of books,
should be a good deal.
whatever happened to? Oh shoot, who's the historian?
When Paul?
Yeah, what happened to his book, History of Model Airplanes?
It should be out within the next couple of months. He's had a lot of problems getting it fully edited and getting it ready to go. He actually handed it to a professional, and they completely revamped it. And it's going to be much better than it would have been, according to him. And he's anxious to get it out. But he's had a lot of personal problems, too. His wife has got dementia or Alzheimer's, and he's had an awful lot of problems there. Hasn't been a good time for Win.
That dementia or Alzheimer's is really unpleasant problem to have. That's a family member with that. It's just so sad.
Yeah. She didn't know who he was one day, and she actually attacked him. She thought it was a stranger coming in, so she just yelled and screamed at him, and he had to call the cops, because she was threatening him, and poor guy, he's all upset because they were really happy, very nice couple, and now she doesn't even know who he is.
Oh, man.
That happened with my dad and my stepmother, too. She got to that point where she didn't know who he was. She was incontinent, and he had to pick her up out of the chair at 80 years of age and try to clean her up and get her, situated, and she was fighting him the whole time. It was a horror story. So it's a hard thing to go through. There are no happy endings, So
the golden years aren't so golden. That's what my dad says.
Well, I'm not going to have golden years. I'm going to have bronze years.
Yeah. Somebody should have jumped on that faster than you said it.
I'm not very sensitized to it,
Yeah.
When I got my gold medal at the World Championships, I came home and had a bronze.
Given that bucket of dope you got.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't dope. That was actually car paint, but that's all right. The original stuff was dope. It was bronze powders, in suspension and dope. And that worked pretty well. Although one of them, the 75 airplane, whatever the powder I used in that dope, I took it out in the sun and it oxidized, and it looked like it had measles, that airplane,
So who is our visitor that obviously knows you, Bob? He calling himself JP on YouTube.
Yeah.
JP, tell us who you are, or does Bob already know?
That's the airplane, that 75 airplane. Let's see if I can get it.
Let me click on you there to show it. Here we go.
That was the worst of all the Genesis airplanes right there.
Why so? What made it the worst?
It was just, for whatever reason, it was just a dud. I mean, it did okay. I took 6th at the Nationals with it and won a bunch of local contests, but it wasn't a friendly airplane, and it just never worked as well as all of the others.
So did you with design changes in the next one to correct something?
No,
No?
really, it was something just. Well, I went to equal panel wings. That one had unequal panel wings, and Raby had been having very good luck with equal panel wings, so I decided to try that. And the next one had the same airfoils and force arrangements, and but it had equal panels, but it was also a little lighter, and it was probably the best flying one. That's the one I won the national with, and it was a real good airplane. So I just think it was something I did wrong in building that particular airplane. It wasn't awful. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't. I could fly it.
Right.
I just didn't like it.
So did you say it is you're going to redesign the Genesis for electric? Is that
Yeah, I actually just did. It's downstairs. If I could get a video, if I could get the computer down there and I could show you the drawing. It's a slick looking thing. It's inline. It's got twin rudders, and it's got a longer nose. Much longer nose because taking a motor and putting where a 13-ounce engine used to be, or an 11-ounce engine. I was able to extend the nose just like Igor did, a couple inches, and it looks cool. I mean, it really is a cool.
Yeah. That would be the one I would be interested in building.
And it's got a built-up wing too. It's got the same wing as the Genesis Extreme, and I just finished the wing, so it looks just like what Sparky's working on right there, almost identical.
So is this what you're going to put the Igor system in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I'm putting the Igor system in the 2012 Crossfire as a test airplane, and also putting it into the Genesis Extreme that I still have. I'm going to put it in both of those and do a lot of test flying, and then I'm going to put it in the new ones.
Hey, Bob, you didn't stay retired long.
What's that?
You didn't stay retired long.
No, well, you know, again, the music thing was really a big thing, but now that I have this problem with my left hand, I can't play for more than about 20, 30 minutes at a clip before my left hand gets so fatigued I can't play anymore. And I got to do something, so I'm going to go back and do some flying. I'm not saying I'm going to come back and compete at the nationals or anything. We'll see how that works out. I got to find a way to get this dog taken care of during the day while my wife's at work.
You know, I told Jerry this already. I said, he'll be back.
We'll see. We'll see, you know.
Our YouTube friends tell us that you flew a Genesis into the pole trying to do a balloon bust one time.
Oh yeah, that must be something. That's got to be a local. That's got to be a local person. Because that was the '76 airplane. I wasn't using it anymore, and we decided to try balloon bust with it, and I did hit the pole. No argument.
Does it
That was
circle?
Ruben McBride that said that.
That was at
I guess
the
Ruben, right?
Circle Burger Field.
My father keeps reminding me of that story.
That was about 1979.
Yeah, he said it was 70s.
Oh, he keeps telling me that story. That's really fun.
Well, I flew a Genesis into a couple of other things too. I flew the 78 airplane and the World airplane into the back of Joe Reinhardt's car. He didn't realize we were practicing, or I was training the judges in the 79 T trials, and he pulled his car up right next to the edge of the circle just as I was taking off on the last warm-up flight for the judges. And I grafted the thing to his tail light lens of a Chevy, and the thing shattered and went, screaming, to a shaft run. The prop broke, went on a shaft run and out in the center of the circle, and it was smoking and sparking. And Keith Schultzel ran out there and shut it off. And then all the eyes were on me. It was dead silent. Everybody was looking at me. So I turned around to the judges and I said, "Now, did anybody see anything wrong with that takeoff?"
That was pretty spectacular.
Poor Joe, he was so upset. I had to console him for 2 hours because he was so upset that he wrecked my airplane, And it's ironic because he's one of the best builders on the planet,
Joe Reinhardt?
Joe Reinhardt, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's an incredible builder. But he really felt bad about doing that.
I saw him last summer.
He's a nice guy.
He used to come to Booter all the time. I'd see him at all the contests. If you never don't see him, he lives here in Ohio.
Lives in Columbus, doesn't he, in that area?
Yeah, either that or Cleveland.
Yeah, someplace down when he's in that Columbus group. Is Mr. Sunderland still alive, John's father?
I don't know.
But he's right there in Columbus too. When I was going out to AMA, when I was working for AMA, I was going out there a lot. I used to stop and stay with his father, and we'd hang out. And I, take the spare bedroom. Really nice guy.
Let me show y'all a picture, if I can get it pulled up here, and see if anybody's ever seen one of these before. And it'll take me a second to get it. Screen share. Application. Here we go. Okay. Has anybody ever seen a Czechoslovakian plastic engine like this before?
I saw that the other day, man.
Yeah. Made in Czechoslovakia. 1986 Davidovic plastic 2.5 cc glow control line model airplane engine. Said Mr. Davidovic developed it with the idea of building them for sale, but the communist government of Czechoslovakia turned him down. He only made about 6 to 12 of them. Some of them were black, but this one's got a clear back plate on it. Let's go back to that picture. You can see it's actually got a plastic connecting rod.
Oh my gosh.
And you can see the steel crank pin. And what else does it say? It said back plate's class. The Venturi's aluminum cylinder is steel with a 4-bolt head. exhaust stack is lined with copper foil to protect it from the heat. And it's reported that the engine ran well. And this one for offer on eBay says it's in excellent condition, turns over smoothly with good compression. And I sent it to Bob Zambelli. Let's see, with the following head: can Dr. Zambelli be stumped? And sure enough, he wrote me back and said he'd never heard of that one. That's something.
That's a 40, 2.5 cc.
Yeah.
Does it say how much it weighs?
No.
Yeah, must be light.
Yeah, probably so. But in the, I forgot what it said now. What year did I say? That's gone now. 1980s. Even then, we would wonder about plastics technology and temperature, but except for the exhaust and the area around the combustion chamber, which is metal at the top of this one, you know, these engines are pretty cool little critters, especially with the nitromethane in there. Of course, Czechoslovakia, he might not have been using nitromethane. They're still cool with the methanol.
Gary Sinclair says that he flew with Steve Woolley back in the 60s.
Gary Sinclair. Yeah, I think Gary's been on here before. Glad to see some of our watchers speaking up once in a while. It's nice to know who they are. Sometimes we got 19 viewers right now. That's a pretty good crowd out there watching.
Guys, come online here with us. Come on, join the group.
Well, we ought to start one of these pulse jet engines up then, man.
Yeah.
20, 21, 22, 23, 20. That's 25 people on there.
Wow.
Pretty good crowd for a Friday night.
Yeah, considering that YouTube Hangouts is not supposed to be there.
They sound like they're revamping the Creator Studios, and Steve Hines is joining us. Hang on while I let Mr. Steve in. Two Steves now. Okay.
Turn my TV down.
There you go.
Okay.
You can turn your mic on anytime now, Steve. There we go. How you doing tonight, Steve?
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. We got a pretty good groove on tonight.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, we got 20 people watching us, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us in here live.
I was wondering if Frank was talking.
Yeah, we got
tonight.
Steve Muncie out there on YouTube. So this is Steve night.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wonder if Frank was talking you guys' ear off tonight.
Yeah, it can't get a word in edgewise. He won't shut up.
All night long.
Let me turn it on the light off. It's pretty dark yet.
People like to just sit back and enjoy rather than run their mouths all the time. We got enough people that want to run their mouth all the time. Sparky says I run my mouth too much.
I think I resemble that comment.
I think all of you do sometimes. Speaking of that, trying, he's not here, so y'all can carry on a conversation pretty good. It takes the load off of me. Sometimes I try to interrupt when y'all start stepping on each other, though. You gotta remember, he who makes the most noise wins in this environment. So
I got to ask Bob a question.
Yeah.
Because of my situation here, I can't dope in this little apartment. And John is taking care of his parents right now. So I normally dope, cover my wings and install them covered. And this, do you think it'll be all right to put this airplane together and cover it afterwards? I haven't done that.
The only thing I would do if I were you is I would make sure that when you put the covering up against the fuselage side, that you put the fillet over the covering. Don't bring the covering up to the fillet.
Right.
Other than that, yeah, sure, no, why not? You have those tension and compression jointers in there. That's not. You could drive a truck over that thing; it's not going to break.
You think I have some 210 carbon veil? You think I ought to put some Z-epoxy on the center?
Well, I wouldn't use carbon veil if you're going to put the wing in first, because that will put definitely a stress riser there. But if you're using Japanese tissue, I think it'd be fine if you just put it up underneath the fillet.
Right.
I wouldn't use the veil.
I used to do it that way back in the 70s, but
yeah, so did I.
Well, Bob, I got the plane together already. I got mine fully assembled, and I got the plane together already, and the fillets in there. And then I was going to put the tissue on.
With the tissue, it's probably going to be fine. The tissue isn't that rigid, but you have a good spar in there. Good, carry spar. Yeah, you should be all right.
That's it.
Gieske once did, when he first started to use carbon veil or carbon mat, he put the airplane together, put the fillets in, and put the carbon up to the fillets, took it out, and the thing broke right at the edge of the fillet. It was it's like so stiff, and the wood inside the fuselage is so soft, the thing just broke right there.
Steve, did you see my compression spars?
Yeah, I saw them. They're big.
Yeah, I know. That's an important part of not having a wing fold up.
Tell me about it. Not to be unhumble, but I'm the guy that came up with that.
Well, did you buy yourself a new guitar? I see a box back there, Bob.
I saw that too. I was going to ask about it as well.
A what?
I see a box back there.
A box.
Right down on the floor.
Behind your right shoulder, is what I was talking about.
No. What's the
that's what I was looking at.
That guitar?
This here?
Yeah.
Well, that's calendar. A friend of mine gives me a calendar every year with guitars on it.
I thought you had a box with a guitar in it or something.
No. I got enough guitars.
Well, you have enough airplanes too, but that never stopped you before.
Actually, I sold a lot of my airplanes. I've actually bought 2 of them back just so I could have something to fly. But I'm building a lot of airplanes right now. There's an airplane I'm working on. That's part of a project I started when Hurricane Sandy went through here, and it knocked out our power for a week. And I was able to get down in the shop. I couldn't do anything because I didn't have any power, but I was able to put all the shades up in the windows, and I was able to put the drawing board on the table, and I had just enough light to start drawing airplanes. So I called it Project Sandy Shadow, and I designed a smaller airplane to be used with like power 10 motors in a 2100 milliamp pack. And I designed a whole bunch of them around the same wing and, fuselage crutch and everything. And I'm building one now from that series, and it looks like a little bear cat. So I'm calling it Shadow Cat.
Oh, okay.
Cool little thing. I got the crutch done, and I got the little blocks done for the top and bottom blocks, and the wing is done. I'm really moving along on it. All 16th. The fuse sides are 16th. The formers, the shells, everything's at a 16th. It's ultra light airplane.
How is the Caprice coming along, the new one?
Actually, the new Caprice was given to Dean Pappas, who wants to come back and do some control line flying. And since I'm building so many other things right now, I gave him that airplane.
He's going to finish it then? And
if I have anything to say about it, he will.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 'cause I was really curious to what that's going to come out at.
Well, he wants to build it like I did, under 40, sub 40 ounces with the motor and battery on board, so we can fly it on 10,000 solids or 12 cables. That's legal when you're 40 or under.
Yeah,
that'd be fun, But he's an amazing control line flyer. He could not fly for like 10 years at a clip, come out to the field at a contest, borrow an airplane, and score in the 500s.
Oh,
he's really good. If he had ever you know, just flown control line instead of RC pattern. You know, he was a top level RC pattern flyer, top 5 at the nationals a lot of times. He could have been, you know, a serious contender.
That's like Ivan Christensen. And he came back and he went to Brodak and
bought a Tom Morris Cavalier, and he hopped in his airplane and flew it up here to an airport 0.8 of a mile from me and stayed overnight here. And we went out and tested and trimmed it out the next day.
Yeah, I couldn't believe though there at Brodak he put up like 3 flights, and I couldn't believe how well he flew. He said he hadn't flown like 40 years.
Yep. And we took him out and flew a whole day with that thing, and he got a lot better. And then I haven't heard from him since. He came in here with a RV-10, if you know what the RV series of home-built airplanes is.
Yeah.
He has an RV-10, which is a 4-place with a full cockpit, you know, not a global canopy. It's got a enclosed, and it's got a glass, it's what they call a glass interior. There's no gauges. It's all electronic.
Yeah.
And he's got a $15,000 paint job on it. The thing is gorgeous. He was a corporate pilot, you know, so that's what he did for a living.
Oh, I didn't know he was a corporate pilot.
Yeah.
Well, guys, good night.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Did
night.
you say good night, Sparky?
Sparky.
Sparky,
Yeah,
Sparky,
yeah.
you're talking about assembling it this way here and then putting the tissue to it?
Yeah.
That's what I have here. I'll be all right with that, right?
Yeah, I guess. It'll be
Well,
good.
He's got these massive carry-through spars, Steve. He's got these what we call tension and compression joiners, and they add so much strength to the wing that you almost couldn't break it. Right.
Oh, I have reinforcements in the spar across the joints. You got the big spar that goes into here. It's a large spar all the way across, and then I got the spar that goes in here where you got the bow crank mount, and then I got another tension spar that goes across the front of that as well.
Yeah, that should be all right.
All right, guys. Good night.
All right, Sparky, good night. And
Good night,
hello,
Sparky.
Charles.
Say hello to Jerry for me.
All right. Good night, Charles.
Good night, you guys.
Good
Hey,
night,
Charles, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Bob.
How are you doing?
Doing well.
We had a long chat the other night on the phone.
Yeah, very, very good, productive chat. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whenever I
glad to see
get
you.
on the phone with Charles, it can go along, have a good time talking, exchanging
Robin.
ideas.
Yeah, any conversation involving control line stunt with me can go pretty long.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of other things in common too, Charles. You know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Bob, do you have any of that wood that you had all sanded down for sale yet?
Oh, the 364ths? I can sell you some of that. Yeah. I mean, I got it all done. He said he gave me back about 150 sheets of it, but he's still got about 500 more sheets to go through. I feel bad making this guy go down there and feed these sheets through the sander and all the sawdust it's making. You know, I told him, I said, look, let me come down and feed the stuff through. He says, no, I'll do it. You know, so but I'm gonna have about 600 sheets of it.
How many would I need for that Usama wing? And that's solid. Remember we did that? You cut me that gloss foam, so there's not gonna be it's not gonna be an open bay wing.
Well, I wouldn't use that stuff on a built-up wing. I'd only use that on a foam wing.
Oh, you wouldn't use it on a built up?
No, I'd go to 16th.
Oh, okay.
16th on that.
I'm gonna step away to refresh my coffee. If anybody tries to come in while I'm here, tell them to hang tight. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that 364th is perfect for doing foam wings. I just did one for Walter Hicks out in Washington or Oregon, and it was one of those Gid Atkinson lasers.
Yeah.
And that thing is immense. I mean, it's huge. It's like almost like a little sweeper, almost. You know, it's so big. And I did it with the 364th, and it came out at 4.7 ounces per panel, which is ridiculously light for a wing that size. I mean, it's real thick and real big, and it came out real light.
Oh, okay.
That was done with that reinforced at his request. You know?
Yeah, I was thinking that that stiffer stuff may not, do the sagging or whatever.
Yeah, well, just what I would do if I were you, and this, seed grain doesn't go around a curve, a steep curve. So what you do is you make up your leading edge shells with the part that goes around the radius at the leading edge. Make that out of A grain, but make the two parts that go back past the spar, make those out of C grain. They will bend a little bit, and that will give you a stiffer wing and a wing that will never show that any dipping between the ribs. That stuff will never dip. So just make it up with, C grain is the centerpiece. It only goes back a little ways past the radius of the leading edge, and then the stuff that goes back over the spar, C grain. That's how I built that Genesis Extreme, and it's really, really strong, and it doesn't have any dipping in it at all.
When you do that, I'm trying to think on the lost foam.
Mm-hmm.
Does the trailing edge go on last?
The trailing edge cap, yeah, I put it on last.
Okay, so
you could. I mean, the only problem is if you try to put it on beforehand, you'd have to try to carve and sand it to match all the tops of the ribs. So when you put the sheeting over the top, it would have a flow. That would be very difficult to do.
Well, what I need to figure out is how to get that last piece on, because if I fully sheet a lost foam, then I got to glue that, from inside, and then the last piece has to be glued on.
I'm not following you.
Well, with the regular lost foam, you can go in on the open bays and get up in there with your pipette or whatever and glue that skin on.
Are you talking about the leading edge?
Well, yeah, the leading edge and
well, you can still do the leading edge the way you normally do it. You just don't cover. Well, maybe I should explain this. You do the fully sheeted lost foam wings. You build them flat in the cradle. You don't have to put any shims underneath because you're not putting a trailing edge in there, right?
Right.
So when you put your leading edges on, you can go in with a tubing, CA, medium grade CA and a tubing. You can get a flashlight in there and glue the ribs to the sheeting, and then even pick it up and detail glue it. But when you make your plates up, they're going to go from, from the back of the leading edge shell off the back of the wing. Yeah. They're all one piece. You don't have to put a trailing edge strip in the back anymore. You just make that wide piece takes care of the whole back of the wing. And instead of going in there and gluing it with something, you just dab Z-epoxy finishing resin to each rib with a Q-tip, put the plate in place and tape it against the back of the shell, put it down in its cradle, put the top cradle piece on and weight it down and come back the next day and it's done.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, what you do want to do, though, is when you're building those wings for fully sheeting, the back of the ribs are going to be flopping around back there. So you put a notch in each rib and put an 1/8 inch or even a 3/32 inch spar or piece that locks all the trailing edges together at equidistant so they don't flop around. And then after you get it sheeted, you can go in there and cut that piece out.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Diagonal cutters and just snip them out between each rib and pull them out.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I got to do a tutorial, a manual on how to do that because it really isn't that hard.
Or a video.
Yeah, I got the video on it.
Oh, you do have a video?
Not on the fully sheeted lost foam one.
I
don't have video gear anymore. The gear I had wasn't up to the standards, the resolution standards of today's equipment. So I kind of got out of that. But I can do a manual that explains it,
We got a question about an airplane. Gary Sinclair on YouTube asked, do any of you remember Charles Licklider
Charlie real well.
And his ballerina?
Mm-hmm. Nope. Watched him fly at the 61 Nationals, and he hit the ground on a triangle. Wheel pant broke off, went right into my sneaker. I was about 12 years old. Oh.
Ballerina, that sounds like a thoroughbred stunt ship.
It was a great airplane. Beautiful, beautiful airplane. He was some builder. He was a professional golfer, and his son was on the tour. He was on the PGA Tour.
How do you pronounce that last name?
Licklider.
Peter, okay.
And his son, Frank Licklider, was on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I've
Was
heard
that
of
his
him.
brother or?
That was some airplane. I remember he had 2 of them at the 61 Nationals, and he was in the hangar that night for appearance point judging, and he had them in these big boxes, and he opened them up. He had a blue one, metallic blue one, which is what he flew, and he had a gray one, and they were both exquisite. They were just gorgeous airplanes. But he had the canopy, he had a bezel where the canopy would go in, and you could actually crush the canopy and pull it out of the airplane and go in and pull the whole interior out, work on the interior, put it back in the airplane, push the canopy down, put it inside the bezel and let it go. It would just pop out against the bezel and it wouldn't come out. And that was amazing. Dumb airplane. And he did it all with a brush. There's no spray. He didn't use any spray equipment.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was metallic blue done with a brush.
Wow.
Wow.
Could you tell it was? Well, I mean, was it obviously brushed?
It looked like it was made out of plastic. It looked so perfect.
Wow.
Wow.
It was one of the most perfectly built airplanes and finished airplanes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I had a friend that could do that with a brush, and how, but he said that's all he did for 30 years was with a brush. He didn't have any spray equipment.
Yeah, every workshop didn't have a compressor back, a long time ago. So people got better than we probably are with brushes. Now, I asked Watt about spraying planes one time, Watt Moore, and he said, "Here's my sprayer," and held up a paintbrush. But of course, Watt doesn't go for perfection. He just goes for function and covering it with paint. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like Bob started so young, and that friend of mine too.
Mm.
By the time he was 20, he had already had 10 years of finishing and everything else, to go along with a hobby.
I had flown for a long time before I really got into doing really good finishes, and it was only because I met Billy Simon, who was one of the best finishers on the East Coast, or maybe the best finisher with Lampione. They were both very good finishers. And I learned from him, So before that, I had brushed airplanes or sprayed airplanes that weren't very shiny,
How long did you fly before you were interested in going to contests and then moving on to the nets and things like that?
Well, I mean, going to contests, I flew a lot of combat. I flew combat at the 61 National.
Yeah.
I did a lot of combat flying when I was a kid. But when I started to get into stunt, I was in the early 60s. About 63, I learned the stunt pattern. And then about 64, I met Bill Simons, and that was it. That was Katie bar the door. It was stunt from that point forward.
Now, was your dad a combat flyer, or was he a stunt flyer? Or?
Well, he wasn't much of a competitive flyer. He did fly combat at the 54 Nationals and 53 Nationals and the 57 Nationals in Willow Grove. But he wasn't, top flyer. He had a lot of fun doing it, though.
So he was more into just innovation and all that kind of stuff, huh?
Yeah, flying. He, because he had a family to take care of, and he had an automation company he was running, so he didn't have time for it, It was good.
Naming his kids after airplanes.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that. Anybody hear that we took, because he helped Amelia Earhart down off the wing of a Vega, burning Vega at one point. Anybody hear that they found Amelia Earhart? You hear about that?
No.
Yeah.
They said that she was alive.
Yeah, she died.
In prison.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Back up, Bob. Tell the story from the beginning. This isn't a joke, right?
This is not a joke. They found her remains, and the DNA is an exact match. It is her.
Where did they find her?
On an island I don't know the particulars of it. I guess it was a Japanese island, and she apparently was there and then passed away, and they found pieces of the airplane too. So,
what about Noonan?
I don't know if they found his body or not, or any parts of it, or any remains, but they did. Just recently I heard that they found her. I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger thing on the news.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you know if there was any evidence that they had survived for any length of time on the island, or if they died in the crash?
That I don't know. But they did apparently, they found the remains, and somehow they had a DNA match, and it was her.
Wow.
Yeah, some of her hair.
On the History Channel, they had a big documentary of her about that.
Yeah.
And she was locked up in a prison, and so Cement prison.
I saw that too, and that one was kind of like not. There was no evidence of that. That was just kind of conjecture, and but this apparently was rock solid evidence, and
how long ago, Bob?
This was only like a few weeks ago. I heard about this.
Few weeks, okay.
Yeah, you might want to check online and see, because
Yeah.
So did they say anything? Was this like very far from where they were doing all their searching?
I don't know. I didn't really go into detail in reading about it. I just
we'll have to look it up.
Yeah, look it up and read about it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that too, because that has always interested me.
I'm really surprised that did not make national news for.
So am I. I thought that would be one of the mysteries of the ages, and you would think it would.
It's
the Kennedy assassination and Bigfoot, man. Those are my top three right there.
Yeah, how about it? Yeah. Somebody out there who's looking on might want to go check on Google it or something and find out a little bit more about it. And I didn't go look at it. I just found out from someone who said that they had found her and it was on the news. So.
But I know that there was a deal on I don't know if the History Channel or something, and they had a guy on there. They contacted that was a navigator from that time, and he was really old. And he kept saying, "You guys are looking in the wrong spot, because this is how we navigated." And I figured it out. When they're doing stuff, it'll be in this line. And they started checking some islands, and they found a piece of metal, and they said it came off of that
I saw that, yeah, and they definitely said that was from a Lockheed Electra. So you would figure, how many Lockheed Electras were flying around the world at that point in time?
Yeah, and lost someplace in the Pacific is the other.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, it makes sense that was. But they did verify that was actually a piece from a Lockheed Electra.
Was that a turboprop?
No,
shoe that was
turboprop. Hell no, Rusty. It was
not in that era, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Radials, man. Radials.
Yeah, two big radials.
Yeah, they said that they found a sole of a shoe, and that matched the kind of shoes she was wearing.
Yeah, they also said they found a man who was a kid when he was, at that point in time, he was young, and he said he had brought food to two prisoners in a prison they had there. They brought them to the cells. It was a man and a woman. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know. I mean, you take all this with a grain of salt. But apparently, this latest thing is they found and got DNA evidence. So.
Yeah, I don't buy the old one about them being imprisoned by the Japanese. I think we all need to read Bob's new discovery here and and see the DNA evidence.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely they landed on an island and they lived for a little while and passed away.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
So within the past year, we've got both Amelia Earhart and D.B. Cooper.
Yeah. They ran off with Jim Morrison, and they're living in sin in France.
D.B. Cooper, no, that's still open, isn't it? They don't have Cooper, do they?
Yes.
Well, they said they did, but I was reading a thing here lately that said it wasn't him.
The FBI closed that file, man. They're no longer investigating.
He went to work for the FBI, is the way it finally turned out. There's pretty convincing evidence, and I can't even pretend to recite it in a convincing way here. So y'all gonna have to look for yourselves. But I'm pretty sure that we now know who D.B. Cooper was.
Well, it wasn't the
Without a doubt.
McCoy guy, was it?
Say that again.
It wasn't McCoy.
No.
Okay, yeah, because he got killed in a shootout with the FBI, bank robbery.
But according to the latest, the FBI had put D.B. Cooper to work after they figured out who it was, and that they actually knew pretty much all along who it was, and they had led a disinformation campaign just to scatter the evidence.
When did you hear that?
A book came out recently that I think D.B. Cooper's friend released after the real D.B. Cooper died this past year, and
the
whole story's in there.
A year ago, they did D.B. Cooper case closed, where the FBI officially closed the case.
Yeah.
So it was more recent than that?
Yeah. Now there's another one out too that debunks that book. So.
That debunks.
Oh, brother. Okay.
Yeah. Who knows? Where.
Well, I was on a 727 skydiving out of the air stair with like 10 D.B. Cooper lookalikes back in 1996. They bring a 727 jet to the World Freefall Convention, and for $60 you can actually jump out of a 727 jet right down the air stair, right out of the ass end.
Do they give you Monopoly money to make it seem even more real?
I'm sorry, Bob?
Do they give you some Monopoly money to make it seem even more real?
No, I mean, we all jumped a jet because we're jumping a jet, right? So, because they take 150 people at a time. It was a Ameristar.
Wow.
Was a cargo jet company in the 90s. I don't even know if they're still in business, but
wow.
Ameristar was the name of the jet. And it was a cargo jet. They bring it in. They put 150 seatbelts in it on the floor to make it legal so that we could take off in it. And then they'd lower the air stair and give us one pass at 200 miles an hour. If you were in the middle of the airplane, you made the airport. But if you were in the beginning or the end, you were either short or long.
Sure.
Only like the 50 people in the middle of the airplane made the airport. Everybody else landed off. You were either short or long.
Wow.
But, it was a novelty plane. They would bring it to the convention for 2 days, and it would fly, 8 loads a day or something like that. And for $60, you could jump 727 jets down the air stair.
Pretty
And,
cool.
And undoubtedly, there was always 3, 4, 6 guys in business suits with the skinny ties and the glasses and a briefcase, with their skydiving rig on. They want to have their picture made going down the air stair looking like Cooper. So I didn't dress up like that, but there was always guys on the load.
That's funny.
Did they do it at night?
I'm sorry?
Did they do it at night?
No, we didn't do night jumps out of it. This is a World Freefall Convention, man. There's 4,000 skydivers from all over the world on one airport for 10 days.
Wow.
They bring in tons of exotic aircraft. I mean, the convention is where I jumped most of the oddball stuff that I ever got to. That's where I did my helicopter jumps, my balloon jumps. I jumped a B-17 there. I jumped the jet. I jumped a Super Constellation. Two biplanes. I got out of a Stearman biplane twice.
Were you airborne in the Army?
No, I was in the Navy, Bob, back in the 80s, but I didn't become a skydiver till after I left the military.
Because I volunteered airborne in the Army, but I got hurt in training before I got to airborne training. So
okay, no, I totally went full on sport skydiving in the early 90s, and then I worked in the sport till 2006. I mean, I was an active skydiver till 2006.
Wow. How many jumps do you have?
A little over 4,200.
Wow.
And they're all sport skydives. And about 2,000 of those are tandem jumps. I was a tandem instructor for many years, over 10 years. I strapped people onto the front of me and took them on a skydive.
Wow.
back in my late 20s and early 30s, I wasn't married and I had no kids, and I lived in a 28-foot Airstream trailer on a drop zone in Michigan.
Wow.
I was living the dream, man, for a few years anyway. I was around airplanes all the time. I jumped, you know, all week long, and so I made my living for several years.
On the tandem jump, do you use a bigger parachute?
Yes, it's twice as big. It's about 380 square feet. Whereas, you know, for a sport jumper, the rule used to be 1 pound per square foot. If you were a 200-pound guy, you jumped a 200 square foot parachute. That was in the days of F111 fabric, just ripstop nylon. Well, then they came out with zero porosity fabric, which allowed you to do a much higher wing loading. So a 200-pound guy could jump like a 150 square foot parachute or 135 square foot parachute. And just for example, at the end, when I got out of it in 06, I weighed, you know, 225, but I was jumping 135 square foot parachute. I was, you know, not quite 2 to 1, but definitely in the 1.7, 1.8 wing loading range. But they were elliptical parachutes. They create a lot of lift and a lot of speed. And if you know how to fly them and land them, you get away with it, you know. But yeah, tandem rig is twice as big. Tandem canopy is twice as big. Tandem reserve is twice as big.
Now, if you fly a bigger parachute, can you stay up longer then?
No, you're not staying up longer. I mean, the descent rate might be a little slower and the glide ratio might be more, but no, ultimately a canopy ride from, you know, you open at 2,000 feet, your canopy ride's like 4 minutes, and then you're on the ground.
Okay.
But I got out of the skydiving thing. I met my current wife. She didn't want me jumping anymore. I was in my 40s, and I had pretty much done everything I wanted to do in skydiving. I made 4,000 jumps.
Well, you jumped out of the frying pan, so there's no need to jump out of airplanes.
Right. Well, I had just I'd done everything I wanted to do in skydiving. You know, I was on 50-way skydives, and I did a lot of canopy relative work where, you know, you stack the parachutes on top of each other. I did a little bit of base jumping in the 90s. I jumped several objects, antennas, buildings, bridges. I was into that stuff there for a minute. And when I moved to Tennessee in 03, I was still doing it here at the Tennessee Skydiving Center in Tullahoma. And I managed that place for about 3 years. And then the owner got killed in 2006. And that was kind of the end for me. I'd been around it long enough and lost enough.
Killed jumping, or?
Yeah, he got killed on a skydive out in Arizona, doing one of the Birdman suits, one of the squirrel suits, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, Chris was a
pioneer. Ask it, did you ever try one of them?
No. That stuff was just coming out around 2003, 2004 is when the Birdman suits came out. And the guy who I work for, Chris Martin, he ran a company called Precision Aerodynamics. They manufacture a lot of parachutes, and they were building Birdman suits too. And he got killed on a test jump out in Arizona on one of those suits.
Do you remember?
Man, that's 2006, man. That's 11 years ago. Or my math is really bad. That's 13 years ago. The squirrel suit thing now is commonplace. But 15 years ago, they were just being invented, and people weren't using them to jump off they weren't base jumping and going off of cliffs and mountains with them. They were using them exclusively out of airplanes. They were first invented to skydive with out of airplanes. Then as the technology got better and the suits got better, and they were able to create more lift with the suits and get a flatter glide ratio, that's when they started doing the, you know, off the mountains in Norway and stuff like that, where you see them swooping the canyons and all that stuff.
Do you remember ever knowing or hearing about a guy named Red Grant?
I don't believe so.
He was known as the Batman. He did a Batwing thing back in the 60s, and he was at an air show that was at my dad's airport, the Sports Spectacular film. He was Red Grant. He was pretty famous back then, one of the earlier jumpers for air shows.
Well, let me ask you this. Was he one of the guys on the television show Ripcord?
No.
Okay. Was he one of the stuntmen for the movie The Gypsy Moss?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just know we saw him jump back at that air show, and he was, apparently one of the early air show pulled draws for jumpers. So.
Yeah, the wing thing, jumping with the wings and a bat wing, that goes back to even the earliest days of skydiving. People were trying to do that, but the actual wing suits, where they're getting an actual glide slope out of them, and they can follow the contour of mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a recent development.
That's insane.
Because those are Ram Air jumpsuits. They're actually the same. The parachutes we jump are square Ram Air parachutes or elliptical parachutes. So there's an opening in the front, there's a top skin and a bottom skin, and it has ribs in it, and it has an airfoil. But the air comes in the nose of the canopy and inflates it and turns it into basically a rigid wing.
Mm-hmm.
I call them squirrel suits, but the wing suits that they're jumping today has inlets in the wing and between the crotch where they are, and the suit is actually pressurized. It's pressurized through a ram air flow.
Mm.
Top skin and a bottom skin. Back in the old days, in the 60s, your friend was jumping a piece of fabric that was from here to here that had some.
Well, it wasn't a friend. I just saw him. I didn't know him.
It didn't create any lift. It just created drag more.
No, he came pretty much straight down.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but these guys, they're going.
Yeah, you see them on YouTube. It's really amazing what you see on YouTube with these guys.
I just seen after we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I was looking at stuff on YouTube, and the two guys that base jumped out of a mountain and then flew down and went inside of a jump plane, went through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Flew into the airplane, and then the airplane landed.
Yeah. Yeah, the pilot, that was a Porter, the guy, he put it in beta. That's been done actually a bunch of times over the years. There's been lots of guys that have left airplanes and gotten back into them. And in the 70s, a couple of guys did it with Stearmans. They rigged up two Stearmans with drogue chutes on them. They put the airplane over into a dive and released these drogue chutes so they would fall. The speed would be 120 miles an hour constant. One guy in one airplane, one guy in the other airplane. They each exited and they crossed paths and then climbed into the other airplane.
Wow.
And then they released the drogues and the Stearmans pulled out and they skydived without actually pulling a parachute, without opening a parachute.
Oh, okay.
That was a big part of my life for a long time, man. I lived on a drop zone for over 10 years and jumped a bunch. I was at the end of my career anyway when I moved to Tennessee, and once Chris got killed, I just decided it was time to move on and pursue other activities.
You got out of it alive.
I did, and I never got hurt. I never got injured. I never got hurt. I've taken over 2,000 people on tandem skydiving, and I never sent not one person to the hospital. I never broke an ankle, twisted a leg, nothing. All my students made it good, and I took them all 8 to 80, blind, crippled, and crazy, man.
Oh, I thought you meant that you just left them on the field instead of taking them to the hospital.
No, I never hurt anybody, man. I never sent anybody home limping or anything. I took my buddy's 88-year-old grandmother. I took an undertaker from town, and he was 92. He was my oldest passenger, 92 years old.
He'll be the last.
The guy came back a week later and made another jump with me. Chester Eaton was his name. He made 2 skydives with me in a week.
He'll be the last one. He'll be the last one to let you down.
Yeah, right. Well, I told him, I said, I'm going to extend you every professional courtesy here, but I hope I don't need your services. Yeah. And I mean, I took some paraplegics, I took some quadriplegics, took a few blind people, took some little people. I mean, I did them all, man. Whatever. For us, it was a job. You're working, you're making $40 a jump, so you're hauling the mail, so to speak, is what we call it. Hook them up and go.
We got a YouTube question for you, Mike. Bob Bishop wants to know if you ever jumped a Paris DC-9.
I did not jump the Paris DC-9. They were getting that thing certified right around 98 or so, or 99, I think. Paris Valley, California is one of the largest drop zones in the United States, and they actually got a jet certified to use as a jump plane, like on a regular basis at their drop zone. They were going to use this DC-9 as a jump plane. And I know it flew for a few years, but I'll be honest, I don't even know if it's still flying jumpers or not. The only place I know that we ever jumped a jet consistently was at the World Freefall Convention. They brought a jet in every year for that. I had forgotten about that Paris DC-9 though. But yeah, they spent a ton of money to get that thing ready and get all the airworthiness certificates so they could use it as a skydiving plane.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to go. That was interesting, though, Mike. I really enjoyed hearing about that. You guys have a nice evening.
All right, Bob. Have a good weekend.
Seeing you.
All right, Bob. Good night.
Easy.
All right, guys.
Charles,
Right.
I'm actually going to go out and play at a gig this weekend, a model airplane club dinner, and my guitar teacher is the feature performer. I got him a gig to do that, and he invited me to come play a couple songs. So I'm going to play out a little bit.
Okay.
I
Great.
want video. I want a YouTube video.
My YouTube video.
Yeah.
I'm actually on YouTube in a couple of spots, playing, but I'm not going to let you guys know where it is. So there.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge, Bob.
Have a good one.
Take
All
care.
right. See you later.
Bye.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you. Did you say a couple of weeks ago that you flew at Brodak? You flew some sort of half-a stunt event?
No, they are having half-a stunt at Brodak's this year.
Oh, they are, because because I was looking and I didn't see it as an event listed for last year, and I'm planning on going this year, and it's not out yet.
No, yeah, it is. It's on Stunthangar. Well, excuse me. The Brodak flyer I don't think is complete yet. Okay, so it's not listed on the Brodak website. But
Right.
Will Davis has listed the rules for half-a stunt at Brodak's on Stunthangar in the half-a section.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's half-a stunt at Brodak's is brand new this year. We hadn't ever flown it before. This will be new this year. It's any engine up to an 061. And
That answers my question. That was my next question to you.
Any engine, any fuel system. You can run a tank. You can run a bladder. You can do whatever you want. Any engine, any airplane. No size regulations on the size of the airplane. No line length rules. It does have to have wheels because we are taking off. We're going to use one of the little concrete quarter runways there. So it does have to be able to rise off the ground. You can't,
Right.
You can hand launch it, but I think you're going to get dinged on your
Right,
takeoff.
you get takeoff points.
Right.
So is it at the beginning of the week or toward the end of the week, or do you know?
I think it's on Ringmaster Firecat Day.
Okay.
Which is they fly full Pampa stunt with Ringmasters and Firecats or Sterling F-51s. I believe it's on that day. And if I'm correct, that would be Thursday.
All right.
Usually, I think.
I bet a lot of points are going to be won and lost on landings.
And there is appearance points too.
Okay.
There's appearance points, builder model, but you can share an airplane. But if you share an airplane with somebody, only the builder of the model will get the appearance
points.
Right. So, because what I plan on doing is I'm building one, I'll fly it. Sam's going to fly it too. He just won't get appearance points for his flight on the same airplane.
Right.
Two competitors can
you
share
use
the same.
electric or not, Mike?
No, it's a half-a event, man. It's half-a. Get nitro, half-a nitro. No electrics. We don't have any electrics in there stinking that up, man. Believe me, it was discussed in the long discussion on Stunthangar about electrics. There's no way to compare an electric half-a plane to an IC half-a plane. You know what I mean? Electric would be an unfair advantage. So no electrics, but anything up to an 061. And it can be, you can run TDs, you can run Norvilles, You could run AMEs. You can run Russian Profi and 4 combat engines that are up to 1cc, you know? So I think the hot tip for anybody.
Well, 61 isn't, that ain't 1cc, is it?
It is 1cc.
Yeah.
049
exactly.
is 0.8 cc's. 061 is 1cc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think the hot tip is going to be some type of Russian 061 on a bladder, and just get the most power you can out of it, and then build an airframe around it. I mean, I'm planning on building a similar to the electric foamy that I built for Sam here a few weeks ago, just smaller, but for a Russian motor on a bladder. That's what I'm doing.
I got
Frank, the other thing they're doing is I believe they're eliminating the 2-lap requirement between maneuvers.
Yeah.
You can do 1 if you want, just so that guys that are running hard tanks don't have to worry about landing and starting and refueling and going again.
So this bladder thing is going to be all new to me then. So is there anything special you need to do to the Norvell Big MiG to get it to run on pressure? I mean, is the standard needle and Venturi, all that stuff will work?
The Venturi will, the needle won't. The needle won't be able to get a setting.
No. I got a YouTube on tutorial, not a YouTube. I got a tutorial on rcgroups.com about how to put to retrofit a Norvell Big MiG with a fine thread needle valve.
Do that. Do what Rusty's telling you to do.
All right. And so you need the fine thread needle, but do you need to go bigger in the Venturi size?
Not for stunt.
No. Okay.
You can take the Venturi right out of it.
Yeah. Well, the easiest thing. Yeah. I usually just take the needle out of the stock Venturi, the spray bar out, and then the spray bar that you can buy that'll take the 128 thread needle you can sleeve it with a piece of copper that fits in that hole perfectly, and so you just glue the spray bar into a piece of copper with a hole bored over the spray hole and slip it right in. It works great.
All right, Rusty. Where is this again now? RC.
I know it's on RC Groups. It might be on Stunthangar too.
RC
but it's called, if you type in Big MiG bladder, let me see if I can look up the link. I've probably got it right here. I'll get back to you in just a minute.
All right, yeah, no problem.
Now, is the Big MiG, does that have more power than the AME?
I don't think so. I think the AMEs are more powerful.
Yeah.
I think
it's funny. I got the specs here in front of me. I was looking at both of those today, and the bore and stroke and all they're identical, even the weight, although the AME, turns more RPM. So I'm guessing it's just, is there a difference in timing?
Here's an example of both. There's an 049 AME right there. And this is an 061 Norvell. Okay. This AME will leave this thing in the dust.
Really?
Running on a bladder. Yeah, they're both. And this one is set up. This has one of Larry Driscoll's unobtainium needle valves in there. Larry Driscoll used to make a needle that you could drop right in, and this will run off a bladder. It's a very fine thread needle. Unfortunately, you can't get those anymore. This is a strong engine. This is stronger than any Cox 049 for sure. But this older AME on a bladder, this thing runs like stink, man. They go like hell.
Well, where do you get the 128 thread needles then nowadays?
I was buying them from TexasTimers.com, but I've been told that they don't sell them anymore. However, some Cox people can get them from the early Cox engines. Let's see.
They might actually have
homemade fun needle for Big Mig. I think I found it. Let me look through this and.
Hey, Rusty, I think I found a guy that's got some custom Craftsman 049 and TD needles, man. If you're
Yeah, the Geo, it's got the sprinkler Venturi, but the Norvell just needs a straight spray bar.
Well, you can do it either way. Okay, so look at this engine, Frank. It's got a Venturi in it, okay? Can you
Yeah.
see that good?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this does have a Venturi in it. And with the Driscoll needle, you take out the old needle and you put the Driscoll needle in, so it's a sprinkler Venturi. What I've seen other guys do, and I have one engine here that's like that, the Venturi's held in by these two screws on either side of the, just above the crank.
Right.
Take the Venturi out and put a needle right through those mounting holes for the two screws that hold the Venturi in.
Okay.
Just
That works.
get rid of the Venturi and run an open intake and run the needle right across, because you're running it on a bladder. You don't care. You're spraying the fuel in there. It's not going to care
Yeah.
if you have a Venturi on it or not. And the bigger hole you got in it, the faster it's going to run anyway. The more air you put in it.
Yeah, the main advantage to leaving a Venturi on is it's got a screen on it if you want to keep dirt out of
And
it.
if you stuff it, you're gonna pack the crankcase full of dirt and stuff like that. But you can put a needle, as long as you can find a fine thread needle, straight across in the mounting holes for the Venturi. You can drill the case right there and just run a needle straight across. That's how El Ferraro sets all of his up. He has no Venturi and no sprinkler Venturi and needle on it. Al puts his needles through the case right
Now,
there.
can you put a 61 AME?
I don't know if they made a 61 AME or not.
I got one. I got one on my Gladiator.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's an AME 61.
It's an AME 061. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just looking at them today on their website. For some reason, the AME is cheaper, like $10 cheaper. It looks like it doesn't come with a muffler though.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna run
okay.
out of a ladder, you don't want a muffler on there anyway.
Right.
You just let her rip, man.
Yeah, I thought though in the stunt you have to run a muffler.
Not for half A, dude.
Oh.
It's not required.
Just anything stunt, you had to run a muffler.
No, not anything stunt. It goes by engine sizes. It's by size. I think anything above a 15 has to have a muffler on it.
Oh, okay.
According to the rules. Anything under a 15, it's not required. You can't muffle, TDs anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was wondering if they're would be illegal for stunt.
I don't think so. I don't think they're splitting hairs in half A stunt at Brodak, man. I think if you're running any kind of 061 or under, because there are going to be guys running TDs, man. You can't put mufflers on them. They're not going to not let them fly.
Frank.
Half A.
Yeah.
Frank, you know how to PM me at Stunthangar, right?
Right.
Rockin' Rusty, RKN Rusty.
Wreckin' Rusty.
No, it's Rockin' Rusty, not Wreckin' Rusty. Although it could go either way. But I'll look that link up, and if you'll ping me with your with a PM, then I'll send you the link. Or what's your name on Stunthangar?
I think it might be Night Nav on there.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Why don't you write down Rockin' Rusty, RKN Rusty, and PM me, and and ping me like that, and I'll send you the links back. That's on several forums, and I might have revised one might be better than the other.
Right. Okay.
Couple more months of rehab on that new leg of his, and we'll be calling him the dancing machine, Rusty.
That's right. Man, it's going right this time. And I'm real happy with it so far.
Frank, if you're real lucky and you come across an old AME and it has that style needle, which is what they used to ship them with, that'll run on a bladder right out of the box.
Okay.
And then here's a VA 049. Of course, this one was made for free flight guys and for combat guys, so it's got a fine thread needle too.
Gotcha.
But it's nice because it's interchangeable with the Norville. It'll fit right in the Norville. It's a shame that when they changed and after they stopped making the AMEs and they made the Norville, they started putting that crappy needle in there that you can't run on a bladder. You know, it's unfortunate.
Well, I know I used to fly half a pylon, and back then we used TDs, and we ran back crankcase pressure off the back plate, and I think I had some fine needles for those. I don't know if I can use those or not in a Norvell, but
I think you can. You can make it work.
Well,
yeah.
there's a couple things you could do there, Frank, to make that work. And the first thing being, so this spray bar is what's left of a needle valve. I got this off a guy. This is the actual spray bar from a Norville engine.
Okay.
And this part that has the nut would have been the part that had the needle in it that you could thread in and out, and it would have the little pincher on it. He just cut that off and soldered the hole shut, so you can use the nozzle and the spray bar that has the hole in it, and then you just hook it up to a remote needle. Run a remote on it.
Okay.
You can use the original needle valve spray bar part by cutting it off and closing off one end to make a nozzle, so you can hook that to a remote needle, which you could make a remote out of one of your TD needle valves.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Very easily.
All right.
But Rusty will get you straightened out. He's got the whole tutorial on how to do this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, ping me in PMs and I'll make sure you get what you need.
I will do that. Thank you.
The best case scenario would be if Larry Driscoll would just go ahead and make 500 of his needle valves for the Norville 061 and 049s again, because those were the best things. It was a direct replacement for the Norville needle, and it was set up fine thread for a bladder.
Yeah.
You know, and they were, you know, I want to say they were 19 or 20 bucks, I think, for the whole assembly. And I only bought 2.
Yeah.
I should have bought 10 of them back when he was.
Yeah, I got one of them.
You got one? You want to sell it?
One, yeah.
$5 for
it.
And I got a bent needle.
You already have 2. You don't get dibs on it.
I don't get the other one, yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get on a roof in the morning. I'll be 5 days in a row.
Oh boy.
At least my feet are warm now. But
what do you mean you got to get on a roof, Steve? What are you doing?
Heating. Well, actually, today I put in a compressor on an air conditioning unit.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. They pay me to do it, but you can't talk to these people, and you know they need it on there just in case I need air conditioning. And it's like it's a 4 compressor unit. Well, besides that, it has an economizer, so it sucks outside air when it's cold, and all the compressors shut down at 45 degrees. So no idea going by next week, because it ain't gonna get close to 45 degrees here. Maybe till March.
Right.
But the big problem I had today is getting it evacuated, because once you open a unit up and try to evacuate moisture out of a system, 2 degrees, you're trying to evacuate ice. And it takes forever. Got the pump running on it overnight, which we usually don't do, but otherwise, I'd have been there till 8 or 9 o'clock tonight to charge it. But so I'll go back in the morning and spend a couple hours and be done with it.
Yep.
All right, well, have
Stay
fun
warm.
with that. We're going to talk model airplane stuff again.
All right. Electric cafe.
No.
It would make it a lot simpler for us non-bladder people.
Oh, I know.
You can run a suction tank, Frank, and get. I mean,
Well, I was thinking about running, crankcase pressure with like a Uniflow hard tank, but it
That'll
sounds
work.
like you guys are saying that that's a lot harder to get set up and stuff.
no. I'm not saying if that's what you ran back in the day, flying pylon. I think that'd be a great setup for half A. For me personally, I have never had good luck with half A's on suction tanks. You know what I mean? They always kind of lean out too much in maneuvers, and
Same here.
the fuel sloshing around on them. I mean, just the bladder setup is a much more reliable setup for.
Yeah. Well, if I can work out the needle stuff, I'll go with the bladder.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a half A motor run on suction fine, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of guys there doing it. But I think anybody who's running a pressurized fuel system is going to have an advantage. And the other thing with a bladder, you're going to, once you run it a few times, you're going to know exactly how much fuel to put in there and fly the pattern. I'm going to do my 2 laps between maneuvers, even though they're saying you can get away doing
Me
one
too.
because of the fuel size,
Yeah.
fuel tank size,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Because there might be guys running Black Widows or Golden Bees and stuff like that, and they're not going to get. They'll have to do 1 lap if they're going to get.
They're going to be sputtering and coughing and flying. Screw that.
With the 061, do you think you can do the whole thing on what, about a 3/4 ounce, half ounce?
You can fly from breakfast till sunset on one of those things if you put enough gas in it.
I think, yeah, I think, yeah, an ounce would be. I mean, and plus you got an 8-minute time limit. It's the same time limit.
Yeah.
So don't worry about an overrun. I think 3/4 of an ounce or an ounce would do it.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could look at my videos. I mean,
whatever you need, because there's no limit on that. So
yeah.
But what I was talking about, the guys that are running integral tanks, on the like the Texacos and the Black Widows and the
Oh, yeah, right.
with the stunt tank, they're only getting how much fuel do you get in those things?
You get 8 cc's with the big one, 5 cc's with the little one,
5
and that's
cc's.
only anywhere from 90 seconds to a 2 minutes, maybe 3 if you're lucky.
Right. That's why Will wrote the rules for they can do 1 lap so that they can get it all in.
Yeah.
And they are going to be judging takeoff because we're taking off from a hard surface. The landings, they're going to give us a break on because there's only just that 1/8 paved area to land on. And if you land in the grass and it flips over, I don't think they're going to ding us on that.
Okay.
They're going to be
We'll look at the glide.
yeah, they're going to look at the glide, and then
Right.
if it ground flips over, you're not going to get dinged for that. They're going to give us some leeway.
All right.
One thing I've been meaning to bring this up tonight, and I kept forgetting. I don't know if you guys know who Mike Hazel is. He's a guy out in Oregon. He's a stunt flyer and a speed flyer. A lot of speed stuff. But this is not posted on Stunthangar, but I found it on Stuka Stunt today. He just put it up. He is cleaning house, and he has hundreds of items on his list. It's on the Stuka Stunt Classifieds, but the list isn't there. You have to go to the Flying Lines site if you're familiar with that. Do you guys know Flying Lines?
I got it bookmarked, yeah.
It's the Northwest guys, the Oregon, Washington State guys, Flying Lines, and more specifically go in the Flying Flea Market. That's their classified ads. The Flying Flea Market on the Northwest Flying Lines site. Mike Hazel has a list there of tons of stuff. I caught it early today, and I actually bought, I know you guys have seen this because I've showed it to you bunches of times. This is my dad's old Hoyt Cat Jet.
Yeah.
That he built in 1961. Mike has a brand new kit in the box that I bought from him today of this airplane. This one's retired. It doesn't fly anymore, but he's got this exact model, and I bought it from him today so that I can build it and have another flying example of the same plane that my dad had back in the day. And then I bought some other. He had a lot of jet speed stuff for sale, but he's got. This will interest you, Rusty. He's got a lot of cock stuff, a lot of speed pans and parts for TDs, needle valves for 051s, 049s. He's got speed pans. He's got cylinder heads, pistons.
Yeah.
There's a. I mean, it's going to take you 30 minutes to go through his list and look at everything that he has. But that's where I was talking about the custom craftsmanship needles.
Yeah, he's probably got spray bar type needles too.
He does. He's got all kinds of half A equipment listed for engines, and then in the miscellaneous engines, Venturi, and needle valve parts. There's definitely some good stuff in there. He's probably got some fine thread needles and other things because he's a speed guy, you know. So they got all the tricked out stuff.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike.
He's got a lot of other control line engines and parts in there. It's worth a look. I'm a digger, man. I like, you know, when somebody posts a list like that, I look at every little thing to see if there's any little doodads or knickknacks in there that are hard to find or unobtainium, you know.
All right.
So I'd give it a look.
Will do. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, he said he wasn't in a huge hurry to sell everything because I asked him, I said, you know, you posted that on Stuka Stunt. They don't get much traffic there. There's not a whole lot of guys on there, not a lot of traffic. He said, well, I'm not in a big hurry, and I didn't want to put it on Stunthangar because I don't want to get bombarded with calls because of the amount of stuff that he has on there. I thought like maybe in a week or two I'd post a link on the Cox Engines forum, Rusty, because there's definitely some stuff in there the Cox guys are going to want.
Good. Yeah.
So,
we got a lot of new members on Cox Engines lately.
Giving you the heads up so you can get in early and check out.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I've actually been going to the forums more. Again, I'm starting to pick back up with looking at them. For a long time there, I had kind of stopped my forum activity. So I'm getting more active now.
Charles, what are you doing over there?
Cleaning my garage. Yeah, I got to get serious with this garage. That's why I'm not building very much and building very fast. I don't really have a my bench to build is just covered with stuff, and it's not just my bench. The whole garage is a mess. So I got to get serious. So I thought I would stay on the calls and just listen and get work done. I just can't, 3 hours Monday, 3 hours Friday, 6 hours a week. If I'm on at the beginning, that's a lot of time I could use, right?
Yeah. No, I had my mic turned off for the first 2 hours because I was cleaning up Dynajet engine stuff. You got me all fired up showing me your Dynajet last week. So I got all my planes down and took the engines off. I refaced the faces of them and cleaned out the flow ejectors and all that. Got all the threads nice, so the heads screw in real nice. And I'm going to do some work on the Bolton T34 here. I noticed some of the epoxy is starting to delaminate on it.
Okay.
The wing's actually a little wonky.
Yeah.
So this thing needs a little bit of tender love and care before next season.
Very cool. Have you had the chance to go fly your PA-65?
Haven't had the weather, Charles.
Okay. I understand. But the first time I had bad weather today and Monday. This is the first week I've been I couldn't fly that one day this week. And it's been a long time since that's happened to me.
Yeah, believe me, I'm chomping at the bit to fly this thing, man. I'm ready to go. I got fuel mixed up. The plane's ready. It's good to go. I want to get out there and fly it, but I just haven't had the weather. And we got a big storm coming in tomorrow. So Nashville's going to be shut down for 2 days because we're getting a ½ inch of snow.
Damn, gotta go get bread and milk.
Yeah, I'm all set.
The grocery store shelves will be empty.
They will.
I'm hoping to go fly Monday. I love to fly on Martin Luther King's birthday, and so I'm hoping to fly. I have a few friends coming out. They're off. That's a holiday for them, and they can join me. So I'm hoping to fly Monday. But it didn't rain today. Our field is so wet and soggy from all the rain of all this whole week that I'm hoping that by Monday it's suitable to fly.
Well, you're lucky, Charles, because on Monday it's supposed to be a high of 16 here.
Where you live, Frank?
I'm in the Philadelphia area.
Okay.
Actually, I'm in Delaware, but not far from Philly.
Okay. Were you at Brodax last year?
No, I've never made it to Brodax, but this year I'm planning on going.
Okay.
Well,
I'll see you there. What are you gonna fly?
I'm going to fly my Cardinal in. I'll enter that in profile and I guess precision stunt, and then I was looking for something else to do as well. That's why I'm thinking about this half A stunt stuff you were mentioning. So
That sounds like big fun to me.
It is. I think it's gonna be a hoot, man.
yeah, well, I was looking. I think what I'll build is the. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the Tercel. It's if you go to RSM, you'll see it there.
Yeah, Keith Crossel's airplane. I heard. Good
Yes, exactly.
I hear good things. I've got several choices here. I've got a mini stunt rocket, Blackhawk kit. I've got a Pinto. I've got an RSM Pinto, and then I got one of Stan Froneberger's Baby Noblers with the built-up wing.
Oh man, you're in good shape.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna go with a foam wing, my design, on a bladder. That's what I'm doing. Because if I put one of my Screaming AMEs on there or one of my Russian combat motors, I can get away with a much bigger airframe and bigger wing area. And I think that's the key. Because, half A's are half A's.
They're
they'll do the
unstable
pattern.
and bouncy. Yeah.
But, yeah, they're just so twitchy. And I think having the biggest airframe you could possibly have with a half A motor is going to be an advantage.
Okay.
That's what I think anyway. So I'm going to come up with some kind of Frankenstein thing built with half A combat foam wing cores. That's what I'm going to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But it'll have landing gear at least. Did you see that? Were you on when I did the electric stunner thing? Have you seen that?
I did see that. I saw your YouTube videos, and yeah, I was here when you did the demo of it.
Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking like that, but just a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller.
Okay.
Not much, because that thing has a 48-inch wingspan. That's 4 feet, 4 foot wingspan.
So are you going to make it a profile, or you're going to have a build-up fuselage?
Oh no, it's going to be a profile. It's going to be a profile.
Okay.
It's going to look exactly like that electric plane, just a little bit smaller.
Okay.
A little bit smaller, and not much. I mean, I'll probably use full wing panels on it and build it around the same size as that one, and then cut it down if I need to. I can just lop the wingtips off.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But I'm going to build it big and see what the engine can handle and figure out what length of lines to fly it on. And if it's too much, too draggy, and too slow,
just cut it down.
Just cut the wings down and get rid of some of the drag.
What about the rules on line length? Is there any minimum, maximum?
The only real rule is it's any engine up to 061. That's it. And it's got an IC engine. Like, you can run any fuel system, any length of lines. The airplane can be as big or as small as you want. So, and that's why I'm saying, some of them, the half A planes, they just don't have the wing loading. You know what I mean? They're so small, and they got to fly so fast to stay in the air that I think that's a disadvantage. I think the biggest wing you can power is going to be the hot tip.
Mm-hmm.
The more wing area you got, the better the thing can fly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to overpower it with a Russian combat engine. It's going to sound like it's going 100 miles an hour, but it might not go 100 miles an hour,
You just need the reliability, I guess, really.
Right, right.
Yeah. So you going to go to that, Rusty?
What'd
You
you
going
say?
to Brodex?
No, I'm not going to make it.
No.
Organizing a trip like that for me wouldn't work. I'd burn up too much time with 3 dialysis days during the week.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be able, even if I found a nearby clinic, which I could. That's a useless day. So
yeah,
you know, even I can't walk out of that treatment and go to the field and fly a plane. I can barely think. I'm half retarded when I get out of there too. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to have Joe Knoll and Triple Tree nearby and a contest there for, even if it's just a 1-day contest. And so I'll just have to be happy with that. That's good that I've got that in my backyard.
right.
You're gonna like Junkyard Wars, Frank. That's a hoot, man.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
Fun, yeah.
I mean, I know Bad Jock always participates in that, and he's a local here.
Those guys from Florida looked pretty hilarious with their shark suits and shark hats on last year.
Oh God, I wanted to kill those guys with their music, man. They had a Bluetooth speaker, and somebody had a phone, and they were playing the Jaws music all the time. Constant. I mean, to the point where I probably wasn't the only one there that wanted to smash that speaker, man, because they were doing it all week long. It got to be the running joke, man. The shark guys. They're funny though. They're a good group, man. They have a lot of fun. Bob Whitney and Rick Osborne and those guys. Yeah, Junkyard Wars will be fun.
Is
combat there, that's always good. And I was putting up 2 or 3 flights on the jet every night on my Pulse Jet speed model. And I should have something interesting this summer to fly there, I hope.
Do you spend the whole week there?
I do. The contest starts Monday, but Sam and I get there on Saturday.
Okay.
We usually get there about noon on Saturday and get our spot staked out, maybe do a little flying Saturday, and then we show up Sunday, hit the ground running. We're flying all day Sunday, but the first competition is Monday.
Right.
But yeah, we stay Saturday through Saturday.
Sounds like a good time.
You'll be sick of hot dogs and pizza by the end of the week. You get a hot dog for 50 cents, a Coke for 50 cents, or a slice of pizza for 50 cents. They got a trailer right there where they're cooking,
You got a hotel you recommend staying in?
We stay over in Uniontown is where we stay.
Okay.
It's a little bit farther than the other option, which is Waynesboro, I think. But it's the hotels are a little bit nicer and the food choices are better over there.
Okay. Uniontown. Okay, I know where that is.
Yeah, Uniontown's a little bit better, I think. Or of course you could camp out in the back field there with Alan Buck and those guys, man. They tent it over there or bring an RV right on John's property and just stay right there.
I don't have an RV. I think I'd rather go to the hotel, I think.
Yeah, I need a real shower at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And the pool. Sam likes to hit the swimming pool every night when we get back to the hotel. So, well, you're in.
Oh yeah, I bet when y'all are hot and sweaty, it feels great to get back and jump in that pool.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna call it a night. Well, Steven's got his plane in his hand. Are you gonna do us a show and tell, Steve?
No, I was just looking at a couple things again, double checking.
Okay. All right. Well, let's call it a night. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you back in Frank, don't forget to ping me on Stunthangar, and I'll
No,
get you what
I
you
will
need.
do that first thing in the morning, Rusty. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I'm heading for the sack now.
Oh no, I know. Me too. It'll take me a day or so to get back to you with the right stuff too. So
All
anyway,
right, I
we'll get it
appreciate it.
done.
Thanks. Yeah, have a good
Okay,
week, guys.
everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it, and all you YouTubers out there, we appreciate y'all too.
How
And
many do we have tonight, Rusty?
what?
How many YouTubers we have tonight?
Right now, just 13, but it was up to 22 at one time, I believe.
Wow, that's
So
good.
it's a pretty good crowd, and we got several people that have come in that said they'd never posted, but they've one Carl. Let's see, we got Carl Amos said, "Hey, Rusty from Southern Indiana, I hadn't missed a show in over a year." And then we've got Gary Sinclair, who's watching us, and that's I think he's been one of our regulars from back in the shadows. So I appreciate some of them coming out and telling us who they are. And so yeah, good crowd in both places. All right, everybody.
Hey, Steve, can you stay on?
What's that?
Can you stay on for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Okay, y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, you go away, Rusty. We're gonna run the pulse jet now.
I'm out of here. Kaboom.